something they didn't touch base with? Is there a story?
All right. So, for example, are we on right now?
We're on.
Okay. The biggest example was one of my best friends that I started going to the Philadelphia Spectrum with. They interviewed him for a couple hours. They never even showed him. He was the one that was with me when I got thrown out of this Philadelphia Spectrum for carrying a piece of the steel cage into the ring, and Gorilla Monsoon threw me out when I smacked Snoop on the back. Yeah, so they didn't touch on so many things. And Todd, they interviewed Todd the same way, and Francie the same way, and you see a couple little snippets, but they have so much other stuff. They only really covered one angle of mine in the episode.
Right. Well, let's get. Believe it or not, I wrote down notes.
Yay!
I did, and I have them on my phone, and I'm going to go over each one of them because I was just telling Chad. I said, as much as I have hung out with you and we've traveled up and down these roads together and stuff, you would tell me stories, right? But you wouldn't tell me like the whole story. And when I watched the episode, I'm like, that's the story he was telling me in the car when we were going to Queens or we were going. You would say that I did this, I did this, I did this. And I'm like, yeah, cool. And then I watched that. And I'm like, that's the same story. And now it makes sense to me.
I know. My brain lives on 6-second intervals. A lot of times I'm like, all right, what was I talking about again?
Squirrel. Okay.
And me and her in the car is like,
no, we're the best. You're my favorite travel partner and vice versa. I know. But the first thing I need to ask you, because this you might have told me and I either forgot or I was like, he's full of shit. Prostitution. It's like, so what? Elaborate on that. You touched.
No, it was just a Chippendales. They opened up a 2,500 people nightclub with a big spaceship with a robot that came out of the center and went on. And you got to understand, this is the early 80s right here. I just get out of jail. I've been out of jail for maybe like 2-3 months. And the next thing you know, I'm in this big club on a Thursday night, $10 all you could drink. And the producer, director of the Chippendales sees me, and next thing you know, I'm a Chippendale.
Did you bang her in that office?
No.
All right. That's a letdown.
No, but another part of the story that you didn't hear was, so she hands me a card of, all right, this is a guy that's going to be your trainer. All right, this guy's going to be a choreographer. We want you to learn how to dance a little bit. And then she goes, but Nick Denorio's here, and he's the guy that invented the Chippendales. I want you to meet him. So we go out of her office and we're walking down a small hallway. Nick happens to be coming out of his office. He looks right at me and looks at her and goes, he's starting tonight, isn't he? And she goes, yes, sir, he is.
Is Nick the guy who hung himself in jail?
No. Nick Denorio, it was a mob hit probably.
Oh, okay. Because I saw the Chippendale gimmick on TV, and the guy that they said created the Chippendales went to jail and hung himself in jail in his cell.
Nah, that's not how I remember it, but I'm not saying that ain't the way it was.
All right. So let's go back. Prostitution. Yeah. You made $100. So I'm going to sleep with you tonight. I'm going to pay you
1984.
Right. Which
so it was $100 for
I was 12,
me.
so I'm not going to sleep. That's only 12. No, I would pay you $100, but then you would have to take $45 to get a room.
No, they would pay for the room. I was putting out a credit card. I'm like, lady, I'll meet you here. And that's it.
So the mistress paid for the lady of the evening, whatever. She paid for the room and then had to give you $100.
Yeah.
And you had
sex with them, whatever they wanted.
Oh my God. For how long?
Yeah, but you got to understand, I think they were paying us like $8 an hour. And you're working 5 hours a night for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then if you were lucky, you got to go up to Studio 54, which I did a couple times to work up there, and they would pay you more to work up there.
Right.
And so, but you had to make money the way you could.
So how many ladies would you be with?
I don't know. Probably like maybe 20 total in 6 months.
Wait a minute. 20 a night?
No, 20 total.
20 your whole career. Your whole career.
Yeah.
You didn't feel
Well, you got to understand, there's not a lot of ladies in 1984 that are going to be like, oh, yeah, here, dude. You're getting my car. We're rolling.
How big were the bushes back then? Were they huge?
Nobody was shaved. Nobody.
Was that a turnoff?
Huh?
Was that a turnoff?
No, I didn't care.
Oh my God. That's the thing.
That was every girl. Just a girl that you would meet in a club or something, and you ended up having sex with her. She had a bush. Very rarely you would get the ones that were shaving back in them days.
Did you wear a condom?
Never once in my life.
Oh God, you should be
never
dead.
Once. I was so lucky. You have no idea.
I'm not even talking about the drugs, which we'll get into. Just all that dirty puss. You should be.
All right, you got to understand something, lady. This is I'm not in a nightclub in New York City. I'm in the average. I would bet you the average person back then was probably making $150,000 in the neighborhood that this club was in. This was a higher class club. These women had husbands that were making money, most of them, and were spending their husband's money.
It said Pulsations in.
Yeah.
Was that where you were?
Yeah.
Do you know I was penny Pulsations at my first show? I was. We wrestled there.
What? Oh, yeah, we did. I didn't have anything to do with it, but yeah, we did.
I was penny Pulsations.
All right. Well, I must have told everybody the story that night.
Thank God it didn't last because.
No, and you know who was?
Wait, that dude's almost as bad as your surfer gimmick, but we'll get into that too. Go ahead.
God, nothing. It was about John Taffer. Was the manager the first night that club opened. You know the guy that does all the bar rescues?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the first night the club opened, the spaceship came out over top of the dance floor. It fell on some lady and killed her.
Right.
Killed her instantly, squashed her. They swept her up in like 10 minutes, and the party kept going. The opening night of that club. Google that.
Man, I wonder if that lady would have paid you $100 to bone her later that evening.
Really, that's exactly what I was thinking.
What a shame. You lost $100 with her dying. Now,
and her friends too.
That's terrible. That's a terrible story. All right. So the prostitution didn't last very long. I had to get into that. The next topic was you meeting Lori Peaches, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she says after 2-3 months, she gets pregnant.
Yeah.
You do the right thing and you want to marry her before the baby's
marrying her anyway, whether she was pregnant or not.
I was gonna say, did the shotgun wedding happen because she was pregnant?
Well, no, it was technically the way they edited it, and the one story about me and Paul when he said he knows Macaulay Culkin, they edited. I never start that story out the way I heard it yesterday. So they take words of mine and plug them in to start that story, which I never start that story with whatsoever. So anyway, I didn't want it to be a shotgun wedding. I wanted to have Tyler born already before we got married. So it wasn't a shotgun wedding.
Okay.
I was like, hey, I want him to be born. I want him there with us. That was important to me for some reason.
Yeah, because everybody that I talk to that does dark side, they say my words got twisted, they took things out of content, they edited it to where I said this but I didn't really say this.
Yeah, that's the job.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to know like what is completely accurate, so that's why.
Yeah, but I picked it up. I would pick it up easy. I'm like, I never started that story like that ever in my life. I never started that story like that ever in my life. I would talk for like 30, 45, 60 seconds, and then they would start the story from there. And their editing is so good, I guess, right now that you don't even pick it up where they're taking me saying that is out of some other context and putting it in exactly where they want it,
right.
Which is I guess everybody does it now. But
I mean, on one hand, it's genius, but on another hand, if they put it somewhere you don't want it to be, then you're screwed. And that's
well, then anybody that does an episode should say that I have final cut. You know what I mean?
That's why he's smart. The best line I ever heard you say was, I was born as a gimmick.
Yeah,
That's
I've
the,
done
best,
my
that's
whole
the
life.
best thing I've ever heard you say in my life. That's the one thing I popped huge for out of the whole hour. Because we all know I was a huge mark for the wetsuit, but it had to go. After a while, it was just way too much. Who came up with that wetsuit? Was that you?
Well, I had to because I started in June 1990. I had already worked with, in my first 3 months by September, I worked with Ivan Koloff, I worked with Jimmy Snuka, I worked with Ron Shaw, and Don Morocco. So at that point, Jerry Lawler calls Joel Goodhart, because it was still Tri-State Wrestling Alliance, and says, I need a couple guys. But unbeknownst to me, and it wouldn't have mattered anyway, that USWA is less than a year of shutting down from right now. So Lawler's just searching for anybody cheap that wants to come down there, because they're paying like $25 a night or something. But he wanted to have a gimmick. So with the Sandman, it was Goodhart told me, he's like, listen, you're going to need a gimmick or something like that. So I thought of the wetsuit, and then the surfboard. I go to Gary Wolf's house, because back then the Pitbulls literally ran the city of Philadelphia. They knew every bouncer in every club anywhere we went. So Gary's like, here, let's get your van. We'll go down to Delaware Avenue. It's 1:00 in the afternoon on like a Wednesday. He walks in, tells the bouncer, he says, go get that surfboard off the wall, because the place was Rock Lobster. It was like, like a beach gimmick. The guy goes, all right. He went and took the surfboard off there. And next thing you know, it's in my van, and I'm on my way to Memphis the next day.
So if Paul didn't say you were getting the surfboard broke over your head that night, would you have continued? Like, did it ever occur to you, I have to get rid of this gimmick?
Yeah, but you know what the funny thing is? Like Todd Gordon Budsby, he's like, heck, I was the one that was telling Paul that surfer gimmick needs to go. And he's pissed that I didn't give him credit on the show last night. I give Paul the credit, but it really goes to Todd, because Todd had so much more to do with the transformation into me just being me, and he saw that before I even saw that.
I love it. I wish I could have Todd and Paul just go head to head on there. That would be so great. So one of the stories that people might not know, and I said, I'm going to bring it up because you can say I don't want to talk about it, but I know you will. They touched base with you and Missy a little bit. Missy was your manager for a short time in ECW. Tell the story. I don't remember where we were. I want to say somewhere in New York, but I can't remember. The match was, I don't know if it was a tag or if it was just Lori against Missy.
Oh, and Lori shot on her?
Lori shot on her, and like, was that, okay, before you tell the story, was that when Missy came to the building and she had all the plastic surgery done? Do you remember when she couldn't?
Yeah, I know that story exactly, because it was at Lulu Temple in Norristown, Plymouth Meeting, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And she got her lips done, and the ring, and me and Missy, we were like, to like a ship's passing in the night, but it was like here for a little bit, and then very soon it was like, all right, we're going our own separate way. And then Paul pushed her on to Paul Varlins to get him to do a job for Taz, but that's a story for another time. My stories have stories right here. So Missy gets her lips done, and they were huge.
They were big because she just got done.
Yeah, so the ring was late that night. So me just being me, I went outside to entertain the crowd. And I was telling everybody, when Missy comes out, I want you to go, ooh, look at her lips. Ooh, look at her. I was so mean. I don't even know what made me do that. But I was so mean that night, and she cried.
Oh,
and I think I apologized to her later.
Well, I don't like that.
Yeah, she cried, and then I felt bad.
Okay.
For like 60 seconds, maybe.
Then it passed.
Yeah.
Get back to the other story. So Lori is
so see, Lori knew something was going on. She's got women's intuition, you know what I'm saying? She was my 7-year itch, and she knew it. So when she got a chance to lace the shit out of her, she did.
So what, I mean, I didn't see that match, but I remember I was there and I was in the back, and I remember somebody going, she broke her arm. She broke Missy's arm. And I'm like, what is happening? Like, what? And they're like, Lori's shooting on Missy. She broke her arm.
I forgot all about that part. Yeah, Missy was selling her arm.
What did she, like, what happened out there?
She just started whacking her with the cane, like wham, 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 wham. Yeah, right. Whacking her with the cane.
So, did you, after that, did you admit you were having an affair?
Nah, I don't remember.
Oh my God.
But she knew it, and I knew she knew it. And she got me back.
Okay. All right. I just remember that story popped in my head, and I was like, I've never seen that match. I don't know how she broke her arm, but I know she shot on her. And
yeah,
the locker room was going ape shit, like saying, Lori's breaking Missy's arm. And I just never knew how, like, I thought maybe she just got her and cranked her and broke her arm. Like, I didn't know.
Put her in the shoot old.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I don't know what happened. How long after that were you guys married for?
Oh, dude, we were married for way longer than we were together. We were probably technically married for like 15 years, but we were together like maybe a decade.
Okay.
Maybe even a little more. I don't know.
Okay, so they while we're talking about her, might as well get into it. So they got into the part where she starts saying, you're starting to take steroids because, you know, you're hardcore hack now, you're in WCW, blah, blah, blah. They changed you as a person. It wasn't everything else that you ever took in your life. It was
this was the icing that broke the camel's back right here. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I mean, she was just, I was so horrible to her as a husband. You know what I mean? And the kids were always more important than her, and she knew that. And I always made sure any girl in my life knew that you will never be more important than that child. And that's exactly how I feel.
I agree with that statement, but I don't agree with the abuse. And like, I feel, okay, I'm just telling you as a woman, I feel like I know you, right? You're one of my best friends. I love you to death. If I didn't know you the way I know you now, I'd be like, I hate that guy.
Dude, I hated that guy once. Like right now, I hate that guy. You know what I'm saying? But I've hated that guy for a while. You know, but everything's in retrospect. It's when you're 30 years old, life is totally different than when you're 60 years old. Mm-hmm. The older you get, the more things come into focus. Hey, you might need reader's glasses like I got here somewhere to read the newspaper, but your insight gets way more sharpened the older that you get, and you start to realize how much that what I was doing, it was affecting so much more than my short-sighted hack. It was just like, how do I please myself for the day for a lot of that time? You know what I mean? And it's kind of natural, I would think, that anybody that when your career is rising like that you need to be like more focused on it or more in tune to it, or I'm making an excuse.
Well, I just on the outside. Yeah, no.
You lose focus of what's real in life sometimes because you're so wrapped up in your career. All right, there. That's kind of summed it up for me.
What's important in life? Yeah. Because back in the day, you're so fixated on how do I get myself over? How do I stay on top? This is all I know, blah, 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 blah. I was single when I worked there. I didn't have my family. You know what I mean? So it was just me. But now, like, I would die for my family. And I feel like that's you, you know? And I don't know that other person because I hung out with you at shows and stuff back in the day, but I never, like with Todd and Raven and all those guys, like going to the house and stuff. I didn't do that. Like I wasn't in that circle. So I didn't see that side of you. You know what I mean? Yeah. So to see that, it hurt my heart but I know
It hurts my heart now.
I understand.
That I can be so blind that I can be so blind and so selfish. And really, it's selfish. It's straight selfishness.
You've changed. You've changed.
Well, because the older you get, hopefully the little wiser you get. You know what I mean? You start to realize how selfish you really were. And I could have had it both ways, but I didn't.
Okay.
Because I was a half-assed drug addict.
Right.
But I could have had it both ways because so many other guys could have it both ways. You know what I mean? But I screwed all that up.
Yeah, and I'm not
my fault.
I'm not beating a dead horse. It's over. I'm just saying the person that you are now, I don't see any traces of that guy whatsoever. Okay. And I like the person you are now. So I'm kind of putting you over, which I hate putting you over.
Yeah, I'm blushing, Kate.
I'm kind of putting you over for that.
It's a backhand.
Let's go to my little boyfriend Tyler, who I always tell him you were so mean to me in the locker room because he was just a miserable little runt. But you told him to act like that, and I understand that. And now me and Ty have a great relationship. The one thing that I never got to ask him or ask you, he's 6-7 years old, so he's in kindergarten, first grade, something like that, right?
Yeah, but I held him back because I didn't put him into kindergarten until he was 6 years old because I wanted that one more year of maturity for him playing sports as a senior in high school.
To have the edge.
That's how. Because I wasn't 18 until I graduated. He was 18 the first day of school. So he was the oldest kid in the class.
All right. So regardless of how old he was, he's going to school. Are these kids like privy to? Are the parents? Does anybody know what's going on?
No, because
is Ty putting himself over and selling 8x10s at recess? Like, what's happening? Because that's what I would have did.
Well, we're on at 2:00 in the morning. You know what I'm saying? And I'm living in Broomall or Newtown Square, Pennsylvania. It wasn't a wrestling fan kind of town. You know what I'm saying? So it took a while longer until I got a little bit more, until he and me got a little bit more famous.
Because I was going to say, like, little kids, they talk. And so here he is, he's on television. He's in the hottest angle that the company sees in a long time. And he's not.
See him explaining that to the other first graders.
Well, let me tell you something.
Dude, I'm in this great angle with this dude Raven.
I would not put it past him because look at the delivery in the promos that he gave. That little shit was right on the money. And like Scotty said, Scotty was like, I could flub my lines and forget to give him his cue. And he would just say his line like that.
And the last spot that they showed him, we're in a park in New York City, like it's 2, 3 a.m. And this is the same night we had Meanie naked on a and he was doing blue dust, so we went and got we got blue icing from Acme. We put it all over him, and a cop happens to show up as Meanie's naked on this bridge, one of those wooden bridges,
with a 7-year-old kid.
2:00, 3:00 in the morning in a park in New York. Well, but there was a neighborhood around the park. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like Central Park or whatever. So there was houses within like 150 yards of us.
Yeah, but you see.
Yeah. And then we wake him up. He goes and stands on a rock. He's been awake for maybe a minute or two. It's drizzling out a little bit. We pull him over. We say, stand on this rock and say this when Raven gets done this. One take.
How much?
And he went right back in the car and went to sleep.
What was his salary? Was it
any toy that he wanted? We went to back then. It was Kmart, so I would take him to Kmart every morning. That was like one of our deals.
Okay, so he wasn't on the payroll. He didn't ask Debbie for a draw or anything.
Wrestlers. He had 8 million wrestlers, and we still have him in like big tubs in. Is it the basement of this house? Yeah, probably.
How could you not make him get in line and say, Debbie, where's my draw? Rich.
That's funny.
I would have made him ask for a draw. All right, what else? The cross angle, the crucifixion angle, you still 100% have no regret?
No, 0. Absolutely zero.
That was the worst angle that has ever been portrayed in a wrestling company ever.
Well, okay, so who's right now, the Palestinians or the Israels? You know what I'm saying? It's a movie. You're watching a movie.
Like it.
My point is with the Palestinians and the Israels today, all this strife that's happening and all these I got to go a little bit of general public knowledge on you right here. You see what's happening everywhere, and it's all over. So I don't know how to. So what was your problem with it?
Couldn't you have just been the Sharks and the Jets? And like maybe
did a choreography. Ooh, cracko jacko.
Just go down the hall like, yeah.
You're surprised I know that?
Jazz hands, come on.
And you're a jet. You're a jet all the way from your first cigarette to your last dying day.
I'll be honest with you. I hated that angle. I was one of the people that went up to Paul and screamed in his face and said somebody needs to apologize. Now, I'm not saying I was the main person who got Scotty to go out there and apologize.
No,
I was right. I was livid. I just thought it was the most disrespectful thing I'd ever seen in the world, because even like for me, even if you don't believe, like so many people believe in religion and how holy and just sacred that is to certain people. And I to me, it was made a mockery of, and I just found it to be very poor taste.
Okay, now suppose you saw it on the Exorcist movie
back
in the day that happened. All right, but suppose it happened on a movie screen. Would that be any different than you? Would you leave the movie theater?
I wouldn't watch it. Because
or would you close your eyes and not watch the blasphemous of it all?
What I believe in makes me tend to not watch that stuff, and that's just me. And I'm not preaching. I'm not saying I'm holier than thou, and I haven't made mistakes in my past. Blah blah blah. I'm just saying for what I believe in, as a Catholic, I guess it offended me, and I just didn't. I don't know.
You're supposed to.
Right.
It was supposed to offend people.
I get that.
That was the whole idea of it.
It
was, you know what? That was our Howard Stern. You know what I'm saying? The shock value of it. I knew that I was at least smart enough at that point in my career that the shock value is going to be great, and that's what you're looking for.
And you were 100% on the money with that. I will agree with you on that.
But I also understand your point of view, and. Yeah. It's a lot of there was crickets when that was happening. When they realized, if you look at the people in the background that are usually going crazy, they're all like,
I've never been in that arena where they didn't respond like with an overwhelming roar of applause or something. And I was right in front of the monitor, and I said, and I turned around with this disgusting face, and I just went, Paul, he just was like, and I said, you better send somebody out there to apologize right now. I said, that was the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. I let him have it, and he took it. He didn't argue with me. He didn't say two words. He just took it. And I sat back. Yeah, I know. I look, I'm just bringing it up because they brought it up on the show, and I had to relive it again, and I was hot. And I was like, oh, I hate this angle. I hated it. I'm sorry.
Hey, but that's the response that you want. Love it, hate it. It's a response.
About me. I know. Yeah. I know. All right. Well, I just wanted to see if you felt bad or not. I don't know.
Who is?
All right. What else?
What else you got?
Chad, do you have anything to mention? Because I got one.
Chad, you've been suspiciously quiet.
Well, I like to when you guys talk, I like to just listen because
that's smart. Let it breathe. Let us do it.
Exactly.
Like
I just kind of like when they went to the WWE side and then it just kind of ended. So where else did they go with it after they started talking to you about the WWE side of your career? Like, what else did they cover with you?
When I got there, I knew in my head that it was a short-lived thing. It was I'm thinking in my head maybe a year and a half. that's going to happen, and I have zero expectations when I'm going into that, except that the money's going to be great.
Same.
That's
Although, it's funny you said that, because I remember being in a car with Al Snow very early to when we signed our contracts, because we all signed at the same time, right?
Yeah.
And I was riding with Al one weekend, and I said, I'm not going to last 6 months here. And I just had that gut feeling, and he's like, don't say that. And I go, I'm saying it. I'm calling it. I said, I signed for 3 years. I guarantee you 6 months. 6 months to the day was when I got released.
Well, you really signed 36 one-month contracts. That's what that was.
I mean, it was. I knew from the get-go, but something told me, like, this is your last big run. This is your last opportunity. Yeah.
And you were with me. I remember her and Sabu driving around somewhere in northern Jersey with a Garmin. And the Garmin sent us to like 3 hotels that didn't even exist anymore. They were like vacant parking lots.
The Garmin was probably a 2-inch screen.
Yeah.
Super tiny. I was one of the first people to have one.
She was so proud of it too. Oh my, she's like, oh look, we don't need a map anymore.
Because you remember, we would use MapQuest.
Dude, it was a pain in the ass, Pat. People guys today don't understand that. We would know the town, and when we were driving in, we would go to like a 7-Eleven and hope we would see a poster like they papered the town to know where the building was. And then we'd have to ask somebody. You couldn't make it to a building without making a couple wrong turns back in the day. It just didn't happen.
We'd have almanacs.
Oh, those ABC maps where you had to go to one page to the other, and everybody got screwed up when the town was at the top of this page, and then you had to turn, if you're still going north, you had to turn to page 36 and then pick that up at the bottom.
So great.
Rand McNally?
Yeah, no, they used to call me Hack McNally, because at one point, even before that, they had, what was that thing that they came out? The maps, road maps. MapQuest. And then when we were on the road, sometimes I would print them up for people and give them to people to get to the next town. So I was like Hack McNally. That's funny.
But what else did they cover though with you that didn't get put into the dark side?
I told you my whole growing up, my whole history from when I was 5 years old, watching it and talking to my old friend, and every time we went to the Spectrum every single solitary month for probably 5 years, from the time I was like 16 till 21. Yeah, until I went in jail when I was 21.
But even like I'm talking about from the post WWE side, it's like they hit WWE and then they were like, boom. Credits.
Yeah, they made it like your career ended.
That was it.
Right,
it ended after WWE.
Well, yeah, because they got to wrap up the show.
But we want we want more of a postscript, though. Give me something.
Yeah, but I expect that. You know what I'm saying? They're trying to wrap it up. And they're getting their points across. And
that was 17 years ago. A lot's happened. Come on.
Yeah, we're still making towns. I mean, my God, put the guy over.
Well, yeah. At least who was it? Was it Raven or somebody said, well, at least he's still doing it 35 years later, which is a joke when you think about it, Franny, that we're still making money. People pay us to go have family reunions all over the country. That's
really
the greatest thing ever. It really is. And none of us would have thought that.
Look, we work really hard, and we give a lot of ourselves at these reunions.
Yeah.
That we do.
Yeah, we did.
We say it all the time. We're the luckiest people in the world. We
are.
Drive around with our best friends. We have a good time. We sign our name to paper, and that's it. And
take a picture.
It's so great. I have one more question.
Have a fireball shot here and there.
Love it. All right. The last time you got arrested, according to the TV show, right?
Lou Albano's party, his 75th birthday.
It was okay. Oh. I said earlier, this.
They running the SWAT team for me.
Okay, I said there's no way this is a wrestling show. It looks like a banquet hall at a wedding reception.
Yeah, it was this Captain Lou's 75th birthday.
So you weren't performing or anything. You were.
No, I was just there drinking 30 Long Island iced teas, making a fool of myself.
Okay. See, they made
literally 30.
It looked like you were at well, technically you were like supposed to be at a show working or something. But then when they showed you, I said, no way. I said, the way that the tables
I was standing on a banquet table with the microphone saying, yeah, I'm drunk.
That's what I'm saying. I said, did they hire him for a bat mitzvah? Like, what's going on?
No, because Candy Albano was doing some of my bookings then, so that's how I ended up there. And I'm like, yeah, I want to be at Captain Lou's 75th birthday. So me, Gary the Pitbull, and Big Joe, that 6'9" biker we used to hang out with, went up.
And then what happened? What did you get in an argument over?
Who knows? I was shit-faced.
But
from the other stories from everybody, because I don't really remember much. So imagine a bar down in South Philly that's an end unit on a street, a row house. So you know how they have the bars underneath? Okay, so it's kind of, think about that. We're out back. He throws a bottle at me, hits me right here in the head, explodes. Then he runs into the back door. So I start running down the street, and I'm watching him through the windows, running through the bar. Now the Jimmy Vegas, well, no, not Jimmy Vegas, this other guy, Jimmy. He was in the kitchen at the time. He said I came in and started throwing glances around, started getting crazy. And then he goes, I found the guy hiding behind the door. I opened up the door, and he was holding this like 18-inch salt and pepper shaker, you know, those oversized. Yeah. And then next thing, the SWAT team came in.
So wait, you went after him to beat him up?
Yeah, apparently. I mean, obviously.
After he threw the bottle at your head, you were still conscious?
Yeah. Oh, no, nobody could believe that. The thing exploded in a million pieces, too. Guys couldn't believe that I was chasing him. I was chasing him like 10 seconds afterwards.
Oh, God. So every story was said? There's not a good story that was left off the card?
All right. I got a story to tell you today that Dreamer reminded me of today.
Okay.
He goes, I don't know if you remember this, but we were at the I have no idea this story. So I'm like, all right, what did I do? So we went to the Metallica concert in LA at the Coliseum, 100,000 people or whatever there was. And we're backstage, and he goes, as soon as they started playing the Sandman song, you ran right out on stage and put your arm up like that, acting like the whole place was there to see me. I would have bet I would have bet my life that I was never on stage with Metallica.
That's hilarious.
How do I not remember that?
You were probably 30 Long Islands in.
I've done to my head.
30 Long Islands in.
That was the Captain Lou's.
Could have been.
Who knows? Oh, Dreamer said, well, back then 7-Eleven and Wawa had these big buckets. They were big, like not plastic, paper cups that held like 45 ounces. So I would fill the whole thing up with vodka and then top it off a little bit with Mountain Dew or something like that. So here's the other part of the story. So we're outside of the Coliseum, and Dreamer goes, you see this cop, and he's got this CHIP thing on him, and he's a Chip cop. You walk right up to him, start talking to him, because this was brand new when Chip was there. And you know me, I'm in on current events and stuff like that.
Right.
He goes, next thing I know, you're handing your bucket of alcohol. I've been up for 3 days. Hand it to him. He lets me ride his motorcycle around the parking lot.
No.
Don't even remember it. Is that degree? A cop, I hand him my big bucket up for days. Well, he knew who I was, though. He knew I was the Sandman, so that helped a little bit. And
That's
to get me on the bus.
Ride his motorcycle, dummy.
I know, but hey, you just gotta be me sometimes. I just walk into some stuff sometimes.
That story would have been aces to put on the Dark Side episode.
I know. I forgot it. That's why people are like, why don't you write a book? I'm like, I don't remember anything. I would have to give a chapter out to Franny, a chapter out to Dreamer, a chapter out to Sabil.
We'd all be
I would give the foreword to the book. That's it.
That's it.
I give the forward. Hey, this is how these people remember this crap.
I'm telling you, you have lived a charmed life. And Todd was right, and Lori was right. You should have been dead a long time ago. But I'm so glad you're alive. Multiple
times. I should easily die.
I'm so happy you're still with us because Yes, me too.
Spent the day with my grandkids. Got up at like 6:45 with my 2-year-old grandson, and then 2 hours later, the 4-year-old got up, took him out back to the pool and stuff.
I saw the pool video on
Oh yeah, that was Oliver shooting that with me and the kids.
That was so cute. Yeah, I love. See, this is what I love.
I love that time. There's nothing better than that time. I love getting up with them in the morning, and I am never ever up at that time unless I got to get on an airplane.
Right.
I'm not up at 6:45.
Oh, by the way, we're not flying on the private plane anymore. We're flying commercial.
Thank God.
I'll talk to you about that later.
Thank God.
It changed. No, but we were in I don't know where we were, but it was I think it was last year, and it was me, you, and Shane. It was like 9:30 at night, and we had just got to the hotel. We had a show the next day or whatever. We're just chilling, and Hack goes, 20 years ago, we'd be sitting in the room doing coke or getting bombed or this and that. He goes, now we're talking about our kids, and we're out, and we don't have any alcohol here and no drugs. And he goes, and this is great. And I said, yeah, it's nice. It's different, and it's nice because we have matured.
Different phases of life.
Well, I enjoy.
My problem is I got stuck at 15-year-old for like 40 years. That was my problem.
That's your mentality.
Every psychologist, every psychiatrist I've ever they were like, dude, you never matured over 15 years old. That's when your problem. That's why you get along so good with kids, because you never matured.
Yeah, well, I think you have, but I think there's certain instances where you still act like an idiot, and I can say that because
every day, like 18 times.
Well,
I walk around saying, "Hack, why did you do that? You're an idiot." I talk to myself all the time. I'm like, you're an idiot.
I enjoyed you back then, but I thoroughly enjoy you now.
Oh yeah, yes, we have a 10 times better relationship than we ever had before.
Do.
But we had Shane in between us then. He was the plug in the ass of progress.
He was a Debbie Downer sometimes.
I can't believe I just said that.
I'm going to tell him you said that.
My grandmother said that back in the day.
There was a time, and I was thinking about this today because you and I are really close, right? But there was a time when you and I wanted to kill each other, and I don't remember.
No, that was my fault.
I don't remember where the tension was, but I know the night that you came back where you think you got the loudest pop in the history of pop. He started an eruption and a tornado and a volcano.
Oh my God. The building registered on the Richter scale 6.8 that night.
Listen, that night we didn't talk, and I was in the ring with you, and you wouldn't put the beer, you wouldn't give me the beer. And you wouldn't hug me, and there were so many things, and it was super awkward. And if you watch, I just watched it the other day because somebody.
Oh, but am I kidding?
No, it's at the end. Me, you, and Tommy are in the ring, and you had just.
Me and Tommy are hugging.
You and Tommy are hugging, and I'm standing there, and I'm like, okay, I know there's heat. I don't know why there's heat. Is this MFer going to hug me because this is really awkward? And you didn't. And I said, well, then I'm not going to hug him. So Tommy hands me the beer, and I just start drinking it by myself because I'm like, well, I got to do something because I
probably thought you wouldn't drink the beer. But I didn't have heat with you.
We had heat.
We did over what?
We did. I don't remember. You were mad at me for something.
Oh, it's Shane's fault. I am 100% blaming Shane for that because he will be the common denominator.
Shane had left. I was.
I know that was the reason he left to put all the heat on you, and that's why I got mad at you.
I don't remember, but every time I watch that video, I get so mad because I'm like, man, how
I don't watch it anymore.
I know, but sometimes people put it on my timeline and it's there, and I'm just here by myself drinking a beer like a loser, and I'm just like, I can't remember for the life of me why we fought.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure it was my fault though.
All right, I'll say it was your fault, but I just don't remember what it was. But it made me sad. I'm like, this could have been such a more fun night for me, and I was happy that you were back. And
so that's why. That's why it's not the biggest pop ever, because I shunned you At the end
So
of
I'm
it.
the biggest punk.
Wow. Now you're really showing your true colors, Franny.
Up, and that's exactly what I said. I said, they're having an off night. You can have a night where you draw 15,000. You can go to, I don't know, somewhere in Buffalo, Louisiana, and you draw 5,000. Your house goes down. It just depends on your demographic and where you are. But everybody, we want them to fail. This is the demise of this company. And I was like, why would you want something to fail? You want all these people to be out of jobs? Like, how hateful are you? It doesn't make sense to me.
The people who want to see any one particular wrestling company fail are failures in their own life.
Look at him.
And misery loves company.
Yeah.
So they need to be able to sit there and hide behind a profile picture of SpongeBob SquarePants with 13 followers and talk crap and post pictures and do whatever they do.
Right.
Because when they look in the mirror, they're miserable and probably want to run full speed into a brick wall. Not that half these people could run anyway because they lack athletic ability, period.
In facts,
Good
my
point.
friend.
Good
He's
point.
spitting facts.
AEW is the same as any other company. They're going to have their peaks. They're going to have their valleys. Now, if they're seeing that the valleys are continuing and they're booking themselves in 12 to 15,000 seat arenas and they're only getting a couple of thousand people, yes, then they might want to think about scaling back to smaller venues or cut the venues down even tighter. Listen, you can be in Madison Square Garden, but you could cut that arena down to an eighth of its size if you wanted to, and just put 2,500 people in there.
Sure.
And it'll look packed. Or you cannot pay Madison Square Garden's rent, and go someplace or go to the Mid-Hudson Civic Center in Poughkeepsie.
Love that building.
And there's nothing wrong with it. But if your ego can't handle the shit that's going to be said on social media about the scaling back, then you're going to have an issue. This business is not great all the time, and it doesn't suck all the time. You just have to learn how to ride it.
I want to ask you a question about you, because this is a question that I get from so many people. And when I give my honest answer, I get something different back, and I don't know where it comes from, because the Bubba I know, and I'm going to put you over. We've been friends for a very long time, right? Yes. And I see you as not only like knowledgeable in the business, right? But I see you as having a good heart. And we've had so much fun together when we hang out, and you're funny and, you're talkative, and we could talk about anything under the sun. And when I tell that to certain people, you're talking about Bubba, you're talking about Bully Ray. Why do I get such an attitude from people when I mention your name?
Because people don't know who the real me is. That's first and foremost. I'm an old school wrestler. If I'm a heel, when you meet me in person in real life, you're getting the person that you see on TV. Because the last thing I ever wanted is people to go, oh my God, I met Bubba Ray Dudley or Bully Ray. He's so nice. Well, that just killed all the credibility of what I've done on TV.
But what about promoters?
What about them? You find me a promoter that I have worked with that has something bad to say about me.
Okay, so they have to work with you.
Here's the thing, Francine. I am so straight up with the way I do business.
Right.
I don't deviate. Here's the price. Here's what I'm going to do. If you try to get over on me, I am going to verbally eviscerate you.
And I 100% agree with you on that.
That's it. So these promoters see that they can't, if a promoter tries to get over on me and I tell them no, or they conveniently forget to tell me something like, oh, didn't I tell you about this extra stack of 300 pictures I need to sign? No, you didn't.
Just happened to me.
Thus, I'm not signing them.
That just happened to me. Same thing. 300 trading cards.
I work with plenty of promoters who know as long as they're straight up with me, I'm straight up with them. And I don't like to go do 1,000,001 things. I keep myself, what I do and what me and Devon do, I keep it exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
So that when you do see us, it's special. I'm not going to do every Tom, Dick, and Harry's, autograph session or indie show or anything like that. So if any of the promoters that ever come up to you that might have some derogatory things to say about me, put them on your podcast with me.
Oh.
And I'd be more than happy to put them in their place.
I might have to do that so we can get a return visit out of you.
Yeah. But
I'd love to say it.
A lot of people in the wrestling business cannot handle straight up good business because a lot of promoters try to get over on the boys.
Mm-hmm.
And you know this.
I do.
I'm sure promoters have tried to get over on you.
They just did with the trading. There was a stack of cards and I sat down and the guy was like, and the funny part was half the cards were Shane and I. So it was the split signature thing. So Shane had already signed them. And I said, what is this? And the guy goes, oh, just sign them. I said, am I getting paid? And the guy goes, well, no, the guy that brought you in is getting the money. I said, for my signature, this wasn't part of the deal. So if I didn't sign those cards, they couldn't be sold because Shane's autograph was on it, but mine wasn't. I held out until he paid me.
As you should.
Right.
You're in the Francine business, and Francine deserves to make money on her pictures, her autographs, whatever it is you want to sell. Now, if somebody comes up to me, if a promoter comes up to me and says, hey, Bubba, I want you to sign for 2 hours, and then I have like an extra 10 mail orders that I'd like you to sign, I'll ask them what the mail orders are,
Mm-hmm.
or if they want me to sign a couple extra things. And 9 out of 10 times, the answer is yes.
Because he told you.
You tell me up front, we
Right.
have no problems. It's not like, oh, by the way. No, oh, by the way, go fuck yourself.
I know. Well, it's funny, and I'm switching gears a little bit. I tried to find, and we didn't find it, did we,
No,
Chad?
I couldn't find it. I
Okay.
went looking. I couldn't find it.
I tried to find this video of us because my next question was, and I know what you're going to say because you just did it on the pay-per-view. When we did a house show, and this is back in maybe 90, I don't know, 96, 97, something around there, I beat up all of the Dudleys. And I don't remember where we were, but I remember I did something to Big Dick. I did something to Devon. And then you let me give you a diamond cutter and laid you guys all out. And then I ended up carrying Spike to the back, right?
Okay.
And I remember after we were done, I went to each of you and I apologized because I was always scared that the boys were going to resent me for an idea that Paul had. Did you ever get mad, like by having to put like a girl over or having somebody less stature? Like, I know it's the business, but some of the guys had a chip on their shoulder about it. She's a girl. Why should she beat me up or pin me in the ring?
Well, I've never had a problem with what you did to us that night because I don't even remember that happening.
That's why I wanted to show the video of it.
I don't remember.
It was just a house show. It was like a quick little thing.
Yeah.
And for some reason, Paul, I don't know if Shane was injured and I didn't have anything to do. And he said, oh, let's just go pop the crowd and you go beat up all the Dudleys. And I was like, what? And I was so afraid I was going to get heat for it, but I didn't. Nobody gave me.
This is an art form, and this art can be whatever we want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Rules still apply to this art form, but if you do something the right way, you can get away with it. what is your nickname? What was your nickname to this day?
The Queen of Extreme.
The Queen of Extreme.
Yes.
So if you're supposed to be this tough bitch who was the first girl that I know that ever got super bombed through a table, if you're supposed to be this tough and this much of a badass with cans out to here, then
it's up.
Eyes up here. Eyes up here.
That's right.
And as my good friend Tony Storm says, chin up, tits out.
That's right.
Big mark for Tony Storm.
She's great.
So then, if you're this tough of a girl, then yeah, on a given night, you might be able to get in a couple of shots on the boys. Are we doing it every night? Absolutely not. Now, at the pay-per-view, the Battle Royal, the Gauntlet Battle Royal, it came down to myself and Jordan Grace.
Okay.
Bully Ray, 6'3", 300 pounds. Jordan Grace is 5'2", a $102 soaking wet with a brick in her pocket.
Okay.
But she's a former power lifter. She's a former bodybuilder. And on that moment, on that given night, the sun shined on her. Mm-hmm. And she had her personal best lift. When you competitive power lifters, competitive weightlifters, they have what's called a PR, a personal record, or a PB, a personal best. That means you could lift that weight one time in that one moment. You may never be able to do it again, but in that one moment in time, you were able to get that personal best. That's what Jordan Grace had. She had her personal best record and was able to hit me with that move. And that's why it makes sense.
Right.
But if you have girls just going out there, just beating the shit out of all these men, it's not that believable unless your name was China. Can I see Charlotte Flair wrestling a guy and stretching them? Absolutely. Can I see Rhea Ripley fighting a guy and beating the shit out of them? Absolutely. But it can't be every single night. There's ways to do it. And when done right, with the right psychology, I believe it's acceptable. But there's a lot of girls wrestling guys right now who are just doing stuff that, like, a tiny little girl can't give a bigger guy 9 Canadian destroyers in a row. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, 9's too many. Just 8. Yeah, I know. You said something that triggered me at the signing. You had asked me about the superbomb through the table and how I land it and if I have pain from it.
Yeah.
And I told you, I said, every time I see Gary Wolf, he always tells me how much Anthony protected me. And I never felt the same way. I never felt like I was protected on that bump. And when you said that, it made me feel like I was justified in my thoughts. Because, I said to myself, is it me? Is there something going on? But when you told me that, I was like, damn, I'm glad somebody else realized that there was something off on that. Because like I said, to this day, I still have problems with my tailbone and my lower back and the arthritis and this, that, and the other thing. But I always felt guilty for feeling that way and I love Gary. I never had heat with Gary. Anthony, that's another story. God rest his soul.
I mean, first of all, I like Anthony and Gary coming up, work with the pit bulls, good dudes. But nobody has mastered the art of putting somebody through a table like I have. And that's not me blowing smoke up my own ass. It's just a fact. I have had more women in my hands. Seriously, I have had more women's in my hands that I have super bombed through tables than anybody else. And nobody else, Francine, has even tried it. Yeah, you might get a guy who gives a girl a standing power bomb, but you'll never see somebody sit on the top rope and do the sit-out one that I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never throw a woman the way you got thrown because it's almost impossible because of trajectory to land a woman, or a man for that matter, flat. It is a little easier with a dude because a heavier dude will go south before they head out.
Okay.
I can get a heavier dude to go straight down. A lighter woman, the minute I come off, her body will want to float out. And your body floated, and that's why you landed on your tailbone. I believe that Gary and Anthony had all the best intentions for you. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they didn't, but I don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
All I know is I've seen you after years and years of doing this and seeing how you landed. I can tell you, I'm not surprised if your hips were broken or out of whack for your entire life, because you landed on your tailbone and your hips, and just one of those bumps can bang you up for the rest of your life.
Yeah, well, I broke my pelvis right after that. So it kind of added to the lopsidedness that I was already having as I was walking. But it just triggered me when you said that. I was just like, wow, somebody else noticed, and it's not in my head that it was off. Like, I always felt like it was off. And I always get compliments on it, like, wow, it was such a great bump. And I'm like, yeah, it hurt like hell. You know what I mean? But I just, when you said that, it just made me feel justified in my thoughts. So
yep. I would have never done you like that. I would have held you in and kept you close so I could control your body more.
Yeah. Anthony, I liked Anthony, just to clarify. But he would always ask me on dates, and I would always say no. And that resulted into some stiff moments in the ring. And so I feel like and I love Gary to death, but I was always scared to have to work with Anthony. And then when we got into the program where Shane and Anthony worked together, I got stiffed a bunch of times. And I never said anything back then, because I was just taught to just shut your mouth. And if you have to cry, go to the bathroom, go cry in a corner, do something. Don't let them see you. And that's what I always did. Yeah. And that's what I always did. But, I hate to talk about him because he's not here. But we had Todd Gordon on. Todd Gordon goes, oh, should I talk about the time that Anthony thought you should give him a BJ because, you were his manager and he felt like he deserved one? And I'm like, no, we don't have to really go into details. But yeah. That's a lot of the 90s. I mean, I feel like the women or have more respect maybe nowadays, but like back then I was just trying to prove myself, and like, yeah, I want to work and I want to be seen as one of the boys. I don't want to be seen as some girl who came in as somebody's girlfriend off the street, So when the guys would say stuff, and many did, I would kind of just brush it off, and some got the hint and some didn't. And you just roll with the punches. And that's what I did.
All right.
Yeah. Well, you have to do that. But I never knew if it was deliberate or if it was accidental, because things had happened before that bump. And I mean,
from what I could tell, it was just the wrong angle.
Yeah.
And I would have just held you instead of let you go.
Gotcha. I gotcha. Let's talk about something fun. Let's talk about Busted Open. You have a spin-off. Now you do the Fat and the Furious. I think you're the Furious. Okay. Am I right on that one?
You are correct.
You've been with them for years now, right? Since
I've been with Busted Open now for 6 years. Yes.
6 years. Okay. How did your spin-off? Because now we have Busted Open After Dark. It's on Wednesday nights at 10 p.m., correct?
Yes. Right after Dynamite.
Okay, great. How did that come to play? Did you
what say again?
Did you pitch it?
They asked me about it. They had asked me about it, and I said, yeah, sure, I would be interested in doing my own thing. So like you just mentioned, the Fat and the Furious, like Dave LaGreca is the guy that created Busted Open. He's the lead host. It's his rock and roll band. It's his baby. I'm the first one that got on board with Dave, just basically on a conversation that we had one day. And I was looking at it from like like when you watch a show on ESPN, like with Shannon Sharp and any like a Stephen A. Smith, where you have the expert, or Hall of Famer or the pro. up and the fan, and that's what gives Busted Open that interesting dynamic. Then we brought Dreamer on board. Then we brought Mark Henry on board. Then Mickey James came on board. So whenever Dave is out and I host the show, I always like to give the show a little bit of a name or a little bit of flavor. So when it's me and Tommy, we call it the Fat and the Furious, you know, and then when it's me and Mark Henry, I named it the Hall of Fame and Pain. So you always know what you're getting as a listener. And Busted Open After Dark is just me and whatever music I want to play and whatever I want to talk about with Dynamite. And I've been asked, like, how come you don't have any guests on your show? I said, I don't want guests. I want the fans to be my guests. The only feedback that I want is from the fan base who just watched the show on TV or just left the arena. I basically wanted to be like a tailgate party after a rock and roll show, or a tailgate party after a wrestling event where everybody's in the parking lot and like, oh my God, that was great. Do you remember this? Did you see this? And just it's generated by how I felt about what I just watched, constructive criticism, and then I open it up to the callers and we talk about wrestling. And my persona on Busted Open After Dark is more of my just genuine, jovial persona. Like, I don't even call myself Bully Ray. I call myself Uncle Bully. You know, come hang out with Uncle Bully for the night. Lay on my couch. Tell me your problems.
Oh,
I tell all the hot chicks to call in. We'll put you on first.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to ask you. So the chicks go to the front of the line is the slogan that you use, right? Are you hooked up with the, because you're doing it from your home, obviously, are you hooked up with like a producer that handles your phone calls? How do you know who's calling?
Oh yeah, it's full blown radio. It's full blown radio, Francine. Sirius XM.
I don't know what the hours are.
State of the art. It's state of the art. Okay. I have two producers with me.
Okay.
You know, live call-ins. I mean, I get call-ins from Canada, you know, from the West Coast, from everywhere. And when I talk about the women calling in, I always like to put first-time callers on first.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to hear from our female fan base.
Sure.
Because, you know, pro wrestling is really dominated by dudes.
Right.
You know, I always like it when women call in to talk about wrestling or to give their opinion about wrestling or ask a question about it. So, and it's also a little, you know, I have fun with it, but it's chivalrous. You know, you open the door for a lady. You know, you let them, you know, it's just gentlemanly to let the lady go first. And that's why.
I love it.
And it doesn't hurt if they're hot.
Well, how do you know they're hot?
I really don't know.
Yeah, they can be horrible.
I have no idea.
And have the sweetest voice, but you know,
I don't know. I make it up in my head.
You close your eyes and everyone's hot, right? Turn out the lights. Same deal.
That's it. When you're in the bar at 2 a.m. and the lights come on, you know what that's called? It's the moment of truth.
Oh my God.
That's when you're like, oh yeah.
So
yeah.
Yeah, put the shades back on. One of these nights, can I pick your band? Your group?
Who's your favorite band of all time?
Can you do Duran Duran?
You know, yes, I will.
You will. Oh.
You know, as a kid growing up.
Were they your favorite too?
No. No.
Did you want to marry John Taylor like I did?
No. Quite the opposite.
Oh.
But here's the thing. So growing up as a kid in New York, I used to listen to Z100.
Mm-hmm.
And Duran Duran was on every other song. I mean, Duran Duran was the hottest band in the world for years.
They still are to this day.
There you go. So I'd be like, what is it? Duran Duran. Oh, this shit sucks. Where's Judas Priest and Iron Maiden and Slayer and Metallica? Rah! Meanwhile, where were all the hot chicks? At the Duran concert.
Because they were all hot.
And it took me years. And the light bulb, it's kind of like when you figure out psychology in a wrestling match for the first time, the light bulb goes off and you're like, oh, wow. And then that day came when I was like, wow, Duran Duran is really good.
But you don't like any of their music? You just
I like a lot of their music.
Okay.
What was that one last hit they had? Ordinary World.
Oh, beautiful song.
What a great song.
Beautiful song.
Yeah.
I love New Moon on Monday.
Yeah.
That's like my favorite one from them. The Chauffeur is a good one. I'm just in love with the band. I'm in love with John. I will be until I die. He was supposed to be my husband. I don't know what happened with that. But but they are my favorite. And I said to myself, I'm going to ask Bubba one of these days if he can do Duran Duran.
Maybe I'll have you on one night and you can introduce Duran Duran as the band of the night.
I would love to.
Okay.
Just pick a night that I'm awake because sometimes I fall asleep early.
You're getting old, Franny.
I'm a little bit on the older side. I'll tell you what, I've only been to, I think 5 concerts my whole life, maybe 6. One of them was Kiss, and I wasn't even a fan, but I became a fan after I went to the concert. But
who took you, Shane?
Yes.
Yeah.
And he made me, that bastard. So he made me carry a cooler, a big ass cooler, because we had the box, the press box thing, you know. And he said they won't check if a girl's carrying it. So he goes in, Damien Farron goes in, and here I am with this cooler. And we lined Coca-Cola cans on the top, but underneath was like a bottle of Jack.
No way.
There was like all this liquor, and I'm saying, and they're walking away from me, and I'm saying, I'm going to get arrested. And I don't even know where. I think I was in Baltimore, Maryland. I don't even know how to get back. You know, what is going on? And the guy goes, open your cooler. And I opened it and I smiled, and he goes, go ahead. And my heart was like, thank you, sir. And I closed it. I ran like hell, but it was heavy. But, you know, we got in there. But it was a great concert. I was so impressed because they all had big high heels on.
Yes.
And running up and down. And I said, Jesus, I'm a girl and I can't even do that. So that concert was great. But the best concert I ever went to, The Wiggles. The Wiggles.
Yeah, I can't say that I've been to a Wiggles show.
Let me tell you, parked the car, had my kids with me. They were tiny. Saw 2 Wiggles walking across the street. We grabbed those kids and drug them down the street to get the Wiggles and take the picture with them. And they were the nicest and they rocked and I loved them. And it's the only time I really marked out because my kids were so happy.
I was just going to say you marked out for the Wiggles.
Totally marked out. Oh my God. I knew their names. We took their pictures. They touched my kids. And then at the thing, my daughter gave the bow to the girl and she wore the bow. And it was just, as a parent, that made my heart so happy. So that was my favorite concert that I've ever been to. But I haven't been to many because I have anxiety. I always feel like if I'm in a crowd and I have to pee, I'm going to pee my pants because I can't get to a bathroom.
Oh, okay.
I have problems.
All
now
right.
you could just wear an adult diaper and you're good to go. But back in the day,
I see some of your posts that you put up there on the old Twitter machine.
I have
you got things going. They're sending cameras down your throat. Up
oh,
your
honey,
butt.
I didn't even do that yet. I'm freaking out about that. And now a urologist wants to see me. So now I have urology, a GI, an OGBY. I got everything going on. Everything.
Poking and prodding.
Yeah. Just say a prayer for me.
Well, I'm sure you'll be okay. You're hardcore. You're extreme.
I'm scared though. It's
You're extreme. You'll be fine.
Have you gotten the upper and lower gimmick yet?
Have you gotten the upper and lower gimmick?
Upper and lower colon.
I feel like you should have taken a drag off of a cigarette and then ended it with brother. Have you got the upper and lower yet?
Have you, though?
Brother?
Have
Actually, I got the camera shoved up my butt because I had something happen to me about a year ago that scared me.
What? Blood in your poop?
Blood, like bad blood. I thought I was going to bleed out, and I got to the hospital.
Was it a hemorrhoid?
No. I never took pain pills in my whole life, you know, and that which is a miracle coming out of ECW.
Mm-hmm.
But what I did take for the pain all my career were Advil and Aleve. Well, I guess just after 25 years of Advil and Aleve, it doesn't sit right with you, and you get like these blood pockets that'll build up. Why is your mouth dropped open right now? Are you okay?
Because my doctor just asked me, what do you take at night for pain? I said, I take one Aleve. And he said, stop taking that. It's going to destroy your stomach.
It can. Yeah, it definitely can. I honestly, though, Franny, I don't think one is going to do it. Not one. I mean, I was swallowing like 4 or 5 a night to deal with the pain. So, because I never wanted to get on Percocets or, any of that stuff. Saw what happened to a lot of the guys. But yeah, after 25 years of taking it finally caught up me and I'm bleeding like crazy. So they told me, tomorrow you're going to go in for, what's the thing when they shove it up the butt?
I think it's a lower colonoscopy, isn't it?
Okay, colonoscopy, yeah. So I'm in the room, the exam room, with 5 female nurses. Now, you want to feel vulnerable? You're naked in a hospital gown.
Butthole hanging out.
You're flipped over on your side, and you're trying to make chit chat.
What are you talking about? The weather?
I don't know.
Are you putting yourself over to them?
Say again?
Are you putting yourself over to them, telling them who you are?
No, not at all.
Talking about Bar A hanging out?
No.
Okay.
I didn't hit it with the old, do you know who I am when I was face down, ass up. But this was funny. So the lady who uses the stuff to put you to sleep.
The thing.
Anesthesia? Yeah, an anesthesiologist. So I look at the size of the needle she has that she's going to pump into my IV. And I'm wondering to myself, is this going to be enough? So I said to her, I'm like, excuse me, ma'am, do you really think you have enough in there for somebody my size? And she's like, oh, don't worry about it. You're going to be fine. And I remember looking at the clock and it was 2 minutes to 12 noon. And I said to myself, I wonder if she's going to. And then I woke up in the recovery room. Oh. That's how quick it knocked me out.
Yeah. I'm just scared because it's upper, lower, and then the scope. Because he goes, oh, we have to get a scope. See, I had 5 surgeries on my stomach. 5. 2 were C-sections. 3 were to repair my abdominal region, right? I've had a surgery 2017, 2018, 2019. So 3 consecutive years, they worked on the same part. And the 3rd year, they put a mesh panel over my abs to hold them together. Now, I'm getting to the point where when I eat something, pain. I'm in pain and I'm bloated. I always look like I'm pregnant. And you know as well as I do, if you go into the gym and you work out, you see results on every single body part except for the midsection. And my midsection looks like I'm 3 months pregnant. I'm sick of it. So I wanted to go to the doctor, see what's going on. Initially, he said, you have so much scar tissue built up that it's never going to go away. And he said, in the bloating, we don't know. So we have to do, we want to do the upper and lower, and then we want to do the scope and see what's going on, see if you have an ulcer, maybe that's triggering what's, happening down there. I don't know. But anytime I eat, it could be a cracker or it could be a 7-course meal. I'm fat as a house. And it's annoying because I'm trying to stay in shape and look good for 51, but you get this part of you that you can't control. And so it's putting me in a little bit of a depression because I'm not pregnant and I look pregnant.
I saw you the other day. You look good.
I'm thick. When somebody calls you when somebody calls you thick, you know.
I don't agree with you.
Well, I agree. Look, I appreciate it, but the next time I'll let you.
Could be worse. You could look like Dreamer.
I'd be part of the fat furious team.
The fatter the furious.
Oh my God, terrible. People always say like, oh, well, if you go to wrestling school, they teach you how to bump correctly. And it's like, it doesn't matter if you bump correctly or don't bump correctly. Your body is going through trauma every single time. It's not normal to take a back bump or to fly off the top rope. That is not normal. And every little move you make is trauma.
Well, God never intended your body to do things like that. Okay?
Did God invent wrestling?
No man did. Our
It's
pride.
crazy.
You know, we had to take each other down and show who was strong like bull. And next thing you know, pro wrestling was formed.
It's just everybody. Well, if you trained, you should be okay. And it's just like, dude, no, you're not okay. You can take one bump your whole life, and you don't have to be a wrestler. You can trip down the stairs and screw your whole body up for the rest of your life. So continuing to bump every night like you guys did, you're gonna come across some health issues.
Sometimes I go, God, look at Jeff Hardy.
Oh.
Look at Jeff Hardy. Look at RVD. Some of the things that they've done. They didn't need back surgery. What the hell am I doing wrong?
They're still going, which is
still
crazy.
Going. Still going.
I heard a little birdie, not so little, big birdie by the name of Bubba Ray Dudley. And he was saying, maybe you guys are going to do another loop around the world or something as a tag team. I don't know.
Yeah, we talked about it. Of course, we're gonna give you with the greatest hits. We don't have to do anything to try to reinvent the wheel or anything like that. We go back, we're gonna just give the fans exactly what they like and what they missed. So we're gonna hit the greatest hits. It's kind of like Kiss. The rock group Kiss, when they had the makeup on and doing all the old songs, rock and roll all night, all of those good hits, people loved them. The minute they took that makeup off, it was over. It was over. And and then they started coming up with new songs, and some of them were good, but they weren't the classics. They weren't what Kiss was known for. Mm-hmm. The minute Kiss put the makeup on and went back on tour and started doing those, those classics, it was like a resurge in the arm for Kiss, and they just started all over again. So now that's what me and Bubba was saying. We don't have to go out there and try to, reinvent the wheel on tag team wrestling or try to have 5-star matches. Let's just go out there and have fun and hit the greatest hits. Nostalgia.
That's what people want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you could give it to them. Can we see the what's up? What's up? Can we see it?
Well,
maybe
I think we'll do the what's up when Bubba's up on that top rope doing.
So reverse it.
Yeah.
You're just holding the legs open.
Just holding them.
Hey, that's a good position to be in for a man. Hold a woman's legs open, or a guy if you're into that. That's fine.
Well, yeah.
3D. Maybe?
Oh yeah, 3D definitely.
3D, which 3D. I told him the other day, I would have taken that from you guys, no problem. It never happened.
Yeah, no.
Never happened.
You got away. You were protected.
I got away.
You were protected by 3 of the toughest men in Shane Douglas, Bam Bam Bigelow, and Chris Candido. So the Dudleys couldn't touch you at that point.
Yeah, but I also feel like if you came into the company earlier than you did, you would have been feuding with the Pitbulls, and I would have taken that from you.
Well, I mean, again, that would have been the Dudleys. We did actually work together. My first match at the ECW arena, it was me and Bubba versus the Pitbulls.
Was I with them?
Yep, you were with them, and you beat the hell out of
Chubby and
dancing with Dudley.
Dances with Dudley.
You had these 7-inch. I'm gonna say they were 7-inch stilettos.
So sexy.
And you're standing on freaking Dancing with Dudley's, freaking going back and forth, up and down, trying to keep him down because you were trying to beat him up.
Oh.
I remember looking at that. I go, this is not wrestling.
Comedy.
I go, what the hell am I doing here? This is not the WWF.
Hey, I that's what I was told to do.
Oh yeah, I know. And I remember you basically, I turn around and see that, and then I start going after you, like walking towards you. It was like Jason going after the girl that he wants to kill. So you get that slow, walk to the girl. And we were doing that around the ring until I believe Anthony jumped down and hit me in the back of the head and put me back in the ring. Cute. And that was the night that you got powerbombed.
Was it?
Yeah, that was the night you got powerbombed.
Oh, so later we did the Four Corners match, I suppose.
Yep.
So it's funny because we didn't work together too much, but there's one match, and when I had Bubba on, I wish we could pull it up to show you it because it's hilarious. I don't know if I didn't have anybody to work with that evening, but Paul made me come out when the Dudleys were in the ring. It was, I guess it was a house show. It was never for TV. And they make me come out in this big jacket, right? And I have a dress on underneath it or whatever. And I try to entice you, and I take the jacket off, and you do the wowza with the eyes. It was such gaga. It was ridiculous. I end up beating up all of you. And then Spike comes out and does like some kind of death, the death drop or something. He does something. Acid drop. The acid drop. That's right. But I gave Bubba DDP's diamond cutter. I did something to you. I gave Lou a regular DDT. I mean, it was ridiculous. I beat up your whole clan.
Oh, thank you.
There was no point.
Got taken out by Francine, and then 40 years later, I'm on a podcast.
Well, we were all friends in real life. Come on. But I look back and I say to myself, my God, here I am, 117 pounds soaking wet. I got all these big men around me, and I'm beating the shit out of everybody. It is so not believable, but it was just like a little ha-ha gaga spot to fill.
Yeah, the great thing about stuff like that is when you look back at it, yes, realistically, a woman your size should not have been able to take out 3 guys our size. But back then, ECW did things like that. And even though it didn't make sense, when you look at it, it was very entertaining. It was how we did it.
Right.
And how we pulled it off.
Right.
Got the reaction. As opposed to some people that do things that don't make sense and then there's no reaction.
Yeah.
We put a lot of entertainment and stuff like that to, even though people knew that it could never happen, maybe there's a possibility it can because ECW is telling that story. And that was just what we did. When you look at some of the matches that we did, oh my God, I cringe. They were god awful.
What's the worst thing? What's the worst match that you had to do that you look back and you say to myself, good Lord, this is ridiculous?
ECW?
Yeah.
I'm not going to say, we had great matches, and I'll get to that question. What I was saying was, it was like we're sitting up there and when you look at some of the things that we're doing stuff in front of the referee, the referee's watching and it's not being a DQ. We're outside for like 20 minutes on the outside of the ring, and it's like, what the hell were we thinking? But because we made it so entertaining and because we captivated an audience the way we did, people suspended that and just didn't even think about the rules or what didn't make sense. We made them believe it at that point.
Because the other people were following the rules. The other companies were cookie cutter following the rules, and we took it outside the box and did things differently.
That's why we were the Nevada. How you say the rock group? Nirvana. We were the Nirvana of pro wrestling.
Right.
It's no different than Nirvana. Nirvana came when you have Motley Crue, Metallica, all these hair bands that are just killing it in the 80s, and it didn't seem like anybody was going to take them down. Then Nirvana came in and just kicked down the door and said, nope, we're breaking the rules. We're going to be sad, pissed off. We're going to tell you how we feel. Because, when you look at that type of music, you're like, oh, my God, I want to murder myself. I'm so sad, And it's like, oh, my God, it's that Seattle feel that that you always hear about. Mm-hmm. But, it was one of those things where when Nirvana did that, it just opened up a whole new door for music. And it was what we did in ECW. We kicked the door down and did the opposite of what should have been done.
Right.
But when we did it good and did it very entertaining.
And fun.
Yep.
I
forgot what the other question was.
When you look back at your career, it doesn't even have to be an ECW, just matches that you've been a part of. You were saying, like, you look back sometimes and you say, oh my God, it's so cringe. I cringe when I think of that. The worst thing or the worst angle that you've been a part of that you look back and because there's things that I've done or clothes that I've worn that I'm embarrassed. I'm like, what was I thinking? Like, where did this come from? Like, this was such a bad choice. Anything that you've ever done that you look back and you're just like, oh my God. So
yeah.
stupid.
TNA, a TNA match, pay-per-view. The the fish market street fight.
Fish market.
Remember that?
They had fish line. They had fish on ice.
Oh,
And all that around, and nothing to this has nothing to do with Curry Man, who was Christopher Daniels, and Shark Boy. Loved those guys. Loved working with them. But I hated this. I don't like fish. I don't eat fish. I hate the smell of fish. And it's real fish on ice, like you're at a fish market. And of course, people picking fish up and throwing it and hitting people with it. I remember looking at Curry Man. I said, "Listen, do not hit me with do not hit me with fish." I said, "You do, it becomes real. Do not hit me. Do not hit me at all with a fish."
What was the gimmick? Like, what's the point?
It was Vince Russo. Enough said.
Ooh. I have never does that make sense? To go to.
Well, it wasn't. It was a regular match. But
yeah,
you were able to go outside and take the fish and hit each other as a weapon. Now that was where the rules were like, it's like a street fight. There are no rules in a street fight. You can have a regular match, but you can use weapons.
Oh my God, I would throw up.
I threw out my wrestling gear.
Oh my God.
I threw it out. It was that bad.
What if somebody just picked up a fish and just smacked you across the face?
Well, not Curry Man. Daniels are great, but Shark Boy forgot that I said that to him. He got caught up in a moment, and he took the fish and he hit me. As soon as he hit me, I went, bam!
Pickled them up. Oh, potato.
God damn, I didn't hit me no goddamn fish.
Oh my God, I'm gonna have to look that match up because I've never even heard of that one.
I hated that match to this day. I said it was the worst match because, again, I never liked it. And I remember saying something to Russo. I said, "Do we have to do this match?" "Oh, bro, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good, bro. It's gonna be great. I'm telling you, people are gonna love it, bro. It's gonna be great." And I'm like, "You're full of shit." He goes, "No, Bubba's." He goes, Bubba's cool with it. I looked at Bubba. He goes.
Bubba's face said it all.
Yeah, and I'm just like, Russo, you're lying. I was like, this is a god awful match.
Ew.
Why are you even doing this?
How many big fish were there? Did they have boxes of fish around the ring? Is that
no? You ever go to Chinatown or
a fish market?
It was a fish market. The little tray, the big trays that they had. They filled up with ice, and then they put the fish on top.
Okay, so it was just like one.
No, they had like a whole line of it. They had fish and all of that on there. It was bad. The smell was horrible.
Did the fans did Meltzer give you 5 stars?
Shit. Listen, Nelson, he's never given me 5 stars in any of the matches.
He gives me negative stars. So
not even in the freaking TLC match. I think we got like 2.
Oh my God. Terrible.
But meanwhile, people still talk about those matches today, 30-something years later.
You guys were awesome.
People still,
please.
But I don't know what his problem was, but hey, it is what it is. Look, each his own. What you two guys may see a wrestling match and love it, and I may hate it, but that doesn't mean that I'm gonna, out of 1 to 10 stars, I'm gonna go, okay, it gets a 2. It may get a 2 for me, but not everybody else should, take it as, everybody else is gonna look at it as a 2 match.
Yeah.
No,
I feel like back then ECW never got not that it means anything, but the rating system from him. But I feel like none of our guys got a lot of stars for their matches.
Well, I know a lot of our guys didn't like him and was pissed off at him, but I also know that you're right. None of us got any of those stars. But remember, a lot of people thought ECW was barbaric.
Right.
They didn't like ECW. Even some of the veterans in WCW or WWE, I'm going to say that, WWF.
Yeah.
Basically did not know or understand what we were doing. And they would say, and a lot of them would say what we were doing was garbage. And this and that until the fans started catching on and watching and then showing their love and support. And you couldn't go to an arena that wasn't an ECW show, but it was like a WCW or WWE show where the fans would hijack the show and start chanting ECW.
Right.
You know, it was then that people's eyes started to wake up. So, you know, now somebody might have believed in what we were doing, but that's fine. But again, what is it, 30, 40 years ago, ECW?
No, the 30, no, 40.
40.
I feel like 60 something.
That make me feel old too.
Yeah, it's not quite, but close to it.
But people still talk about it, you know. It's one of those things where it's unbelievable. Yeah.
Oh my, can I just take this in?
No.
Gross. That is disgusting. My play
Like, you notice Devon far away could be away from the fish.
From that fish. Until
I don't
we
blame
started fighting.
you.
Oh, I hate it.
Could you imagine? You're so excited for a pay-per-view. You're a big TNA fan. You can't wait to see the Dudleys, right? You buy a ticket, you're in the front row, you think you got good seats, and then they put a box of fish next to you, and you got to smell it for like 20 minutes. You got to smell, which would linger probably for the next 2 hours because it stinks.
I mean, you know, it sounds like some of my earlier dates.
Oh, hey. But enough about the travel lodge. I want to get back to something that you said. You were saying that like the vets looked at us as like the blood and guts company and too much and blah, blah, blah. I remember we did a house show one night, and it was like a mixed tag we did, right? And we were doing all these like cool spots and this and that. And I mean, we probably had like maybe 500 to 1,000 people in the building. It was a house show. Terry Taylor was there just visiting. And we come through the curtain and he stops us and he looks at all of us and he says, "Why'd you work so hard?" I'll never forget this. It blew my mind. And I said, "Excuse me?" And he goes, "Why'd you just work so hard out there? It's a house show." I couldn't wrap my head around that reasoning. And I said point blank, I said, well, you know, I said, if we drew 500 tonight, maybe they'll tell a friend. And maybe next time we come, we'll have 1,000 people because we work hard. That's what we do here. And he goes, when we do the loop, we just do the same match in every city and it's easy. And we save our energy for TV. See, now you're laughing. I wasn't a vet at this time. I'm still kind of green. So I didn't want to argue with the guy, but I'm thinking that kind of mentality is shit. Why would you think that way?
We did something. I didn't learn about that in terms of doing stuff like that until I got to WWE.
Right.
Because a lot of the vets from the 80s were still there. Late 80s, that is. And, you know, a lot of them had the same mentality because it was the old school way of thinking. So the new school way of thinking, like you were describing how you felt about it, hadn't really registered yet. It was just that, you know, let's get through this match and get to the next town and hope, you know, get to TV with no injuries. And that's just the way it was.
Yeah.
But as a couple, you know, some time went on, you know, some of the vets, you know, we would do somewhat similar to the same match, but we would change a little bit up.
Right.
You know, to make it a little bit different because you never know who drove, you know, 300-400 miles to the next town. And, you know, you don't want them predicting what we had already done in the town the night before. So, you know, it was always, we changed it up a little bit, not too much, just a little bit.
But that's fine. Because we would do like the same thing. We'd change some spots here and there. But to say, why did you work so hard? To me, that's the first thing that came out of his mouth when we came in the back. Why'd you work so hard out there? And I'm thinking to myself, why wouldn't we work hard? Like they bought a ticket just like you would buy a ticket if it was a pay-per-view or a TV taping.
I don't know if Terry Taylor would actually agree with that method now, being that he is one of the producers in NXT. And I say that because, you know, you got to teach these kids they have to work hard for what they do, not just to get the TV. So I'm sure Terry Taylor is being a producer on the live events and this and that. I don't think he has that same mentality anymore, even though he's not wrestling. Yeah. But again, I understand what he meant by that because that was the way they did things back then. Didn't necessarily make it right.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, necessarily make it wrong, but didn't necessarily make it right either, but that was just the way they were able to save their bodies. Because remember, back then, being on the road for 50 days straight, or 40 to 50 days straight was normal.
Yes.
So they were home maybe 3 to 4 days, maybe a week if they were lucky.
Right.
So,
right.
They were constantly traveling in and out of cars, some airplanes and things like that. So they were really trying to conserve their body and not really. But I definitely understand both ways. I understand Terry's logic and thinking of it, and I definitely understand your way of logic and thinking of it.
Because that's what we did 55 years ago when we were just starting out.
60.
According
60.
to Devon, we've been here for 187 years. Vince McMahon, any comments?
Oh, man.
Did you hear about what's going on?
I heard. I'm still shocked at a lot of stuff that I've read and heard, but,
Seen? Anything seen?
I never saw it. No, even though I was a producer, I never seen any foul play or anything like that. I wasn't the ones that if foul play was going on, would have been done in front of me. I wasn't part of the system in any way, shape, or form. If anything like that was going on,
allegedly,
nothing allegedly.
Nothing. We don't know if it's true.
Oh no, I have no idea.
Yeah, we're just assuming. Do you think he's guilty?
Again,
don't know.
Don't know.
The hot seat.
I don't know.
Don't worry. I try to get it out of every guest. I try to pull it. It's not there. It's not there. It's fine.
Look, sometimes we can sit here and say all day long that a person didn't do something, swap it down, then all of a sudden some huge evidence or something happens where that person is found guilty without a shadow of a doubt.
Yes.
And then we're like, wait a minute, we would have never believed it in a million years. That happens. And there's some people that are, presumed guilty, and yet the evidence shows that they weren't guilty. Mm-hmm. So, you got to let it play out in court and see what the judge thinks. And I'm sure he's going to be judged by, a good jury of his peers and whatever. I think it's holding off in Connecticut. Let them decide what they're going to do with it and go from there. I mean, we'll know eventually whether it was true or not. And even whether the verdict is guilty or not guilty, if he was found innocent, there'll be a lot of people saying, oh, no, he was guilty, and this and that, it's still bad. If he was found guilty, I knew it. I know. You just never know.
Very PC answer. It's fine.
Mustache or no mustache?
Yeah, what do you think of the mustache? Do you like it?
I'm not used to it. I'm used to clean shave Vince. I've never seen him with a mustache or a beard or a goatee or anything. When we first saw it, it kind of threw a lot of us off. And I think one of the other producers in the when I was working with WWE, we were in the outside of the meeting, and they were showing me. I was like, "What the hell?" I was like, "Who is that?" And they were like, "It's Vince." I was like, "With a fucking mustache?"
Wow.
I was like, "Wow."
Travelodge story. Do you have one?
I got several.
I know you have several. Do you have one that you can share that's funny off the top of your head? You don't have to name names. You can call them Larry, Moe, and Curly if you want, not to put anybody in an awkward spot. You got to have one that you could tell.
Oh, man.
Because I got a million of them.
Besides me getting so drunk, here it is. I was, a small kid from Brooklyn, never really did anything, never.
A small kid from Brooklyn?
Small kid from Brooklyn. I wasn't big.
I don't put Devon Dudley and small in the same category, but okay.
I didn't start gaining weight until really after my 4th or 5th year in wrestling, and then when I got to ECW, because that's when I started taking training seriously. I should have took it seriously back when I was starting, but I didn't. I was just trying to learn how to wrestle.
Right. So tell me the story. You got so drunk. Where were we? Were we somewhere?
We were at the Travelodge, and we were at that bar downstairs. And I just remember not ever going out drinking like that ever. And I had to get carried out of the bar up to my room. At least I thought it was my room. Somebody put me in somebody else's room. So I pass out. I wake up, and this guy goes, "Hey, Devon." I go, "What the fuck?" I go, "Hey," I go, "Who the hell are you? And why are you in my room?" He goes, Devon, you're in my room. I was like, who the hell are you? It was some fan. I was like,
that was a rib.
I was like, you've been sitting here watching me sleep? He goes, I didn't want to wake you.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Who brought you up there? Did you ever find out?
No, I don't, because I passed out.
I wonder, because it's funny, because we were talking about this at dinner in Florida, and Devon was like, man, he goes, when I came to ECW the first time, he goes, I was scared. He goes, I didn't do any of the stuff y'all were doing. I go, I didn't do it either. And I still didn't do it we drank, but we weren't part of the drug crowd.
Yeah,
our partying was going to the bar and having a couple cocktails and stuff, but we weren't there snorting cocaine or doing lines off the stripper. I mean, I wasn't anyway. I don't know.
I know. I didn't know anything about pills, nothing.
Right.
I knew nothing about that.
Yeah, and he was so cute. He's like, oh my God. He goes, I looked around and I was just so scared. And I was like, yeah, but after a while, it just becomes like the norm. And, we were all friends, but everybody had the cliques that they hung out with. If you didn't do drugs, you didn't hang out with the drug people. But once we were in the locker room, we all hung out together.
I mean, it was great. Fine. It was really cool. Like, for instance, some kid came over and looked at Sandman and said, is he all right? And I was like, well, I said, no, he's just drunk. He's probably sleeping. The guy goes, he's on next. I said, yeah, don't worry about it. As soon as his music hits, somebody will tap him, he'll get right up.
You know what's great? Yeah, and that's what's great about it. Do you remember the night that Tammy started the fight with the Mummers? You had to have been there. You had to have been in it. She went outside in the back in the parking lot, out the back door. Remember the Mummers were on top of where we were, on top of the arena? And she said something to one of the Mummers, and I think one of the Mummers called her a slut or something, and she caused a riot that night. And I swear you and Bubba were there, and everybody ran out the door and started fighting the Mummers.
No, I don't think I was there.
I swear you were there.
It's pesky Mummers.
If you gave me a year, because remember, we left in 99.
I don't know what the year was. I swear you were in there. New Jack was like shanking people probably. Like, it was a mess. But there were 3 people who didn't go outside. Me, Shane Douglas, and Hack, Sandman. And Sandman stayed. He was doing lines of coke while everybody was like fighting. And me and Shane were looking out the window watching the fight. But everybody, because Tammy started this fight, and I swore you were in it.
Yeah,
I swore you guys were in it.
I don't think we were there for that one.
Okay, I'm gonna have to ask Bubba if he remembers that, because I vividly do. And the whole locker room poured out, and just everybody was fighting in the parking lot.
Yeah, I don't remember ever getting into a fight at the ECW arena. Other places I remember getting into fights, like Staten Island or Lost Battalion Hall in Queens. But I don't remember getting a fight at the ECW arena with fans.
The fights that you got in, was it because of the promos that you and Bubba, dictated? Because some of those were really.
Yeah, the one in Staten Island was really raunchy and bad, and if you could believe it, it even beat the Heat Wave '99 one, and the one that we're most famous for. And somebody took a swipe at Big Dick Dudley. And why they do that, he jumped the railing and went after the guy. And next thing you know, me and Bubba goes, Devon, we gotta go. I was like, oh shit. And I remember I jumped the railing. I went out to go, but people jumping on us, swinging on us. So Bubba goes, Devon, F this. He goes, assume the position. I was like, here we go. We turned to the back. We turned back to back. It started boom, boom. It was like a brawl room fight with freaking Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse.
Oh my God!
People, that it was freaking phenomenal. And then all of a sudden, the riot cops came with the dogs, and I was like, all right, stop this shit. I was like, go back to the ring.
The riot cops came with the dogs, and the locker room fled because how many people had shit on them? We always called you crazy. But not crazy, like, put her in an institution. Right. You were just like a party girl. Like a fun party girl.
Yeah, I didn't care what I said. I was just like, woo.
No, and so The one story, I'm going back
Oh,
now.
I know where you're going.
The one
Go for
story
it.
that I always remember you saying, and you can tell it because you probably tell it funnier
No,
than I
Francine,
would.
you tell it so delightful because you tell it because you love this story so much. I'm letting you tell
I
it.
do love it, and I hope we're thinking about the same one.
Oh, I know. I'm for sure. Go
We
ahead.
were in Atlanta, Georgia, at a WEW show,
Yeah.
and it wasn't in Atlanta.
No. I
No,
wanna say Philly. I
Was
don't
it
know.
Philly?
Yeah,
all right.
so.
Okay, well, it was WEW.
Right.
Wherever we were, it was WEW. And for those of you who don't know, WEW was a cute little indie fed that was an all women's company. That the only way that we were allowed to be on pay-per-view was if we added porn.
Which we never saw. It was in between the clippings.
Yes, but we did have porn stars come in.
Oh yeah, I worked at the mall. Remember?
Of course, we do segments, and so afterwards we would all hang out. And when I tell you that all the girls got along, we all got along because we would all end up in somebody's room, like 20 of us, and drinking and partying and just fun, just so fun. This night, everybody ended up in my room, and
oh my gosh.
it was like story time. I don't know. Somebody was talking about someone, and Cindy stands up, and they hired these strippers or these girls we didn't know.
Strippers,
the girls ended up in our room.
I don't know, because we were talking like stuff that we didn't want nobody else to hear too.
Yeah, like private.
Right. And go ahead, tell it because I feel like what an asshole I was.
There was this one girl, and she was very nice. Because
she's dead. She's very nice. She probably hates me.
No one knew who she was, and I don't know why. She must have followed everybody into my room, and she's sitting there nice and quiet, and I think it was Lollipop, and she was like, blah blah blah, and Cindy goes, "Wait a minute! Don't say another word. Who is that?" And Cindy just points her finger in this girl's face, and she goes, so hateful too. She goes, "Who do you think you are with your big nose and your what did you say?
Her big hair,
big nose. We don't know you. You gotta get out."
Get out.
You were so mean. I think you were a little drunk too, because
probably
we were drinking, which is fine, but the girl was just like, "No, I'm fine," and you're like, "You are not fine. You are to get out of this room," right? And she kicked her out of my room, and I said, "Sweetie, maybe you can come back later." It's mortifying.
You were like babyface. I was like, "Get out!"
Every time I think of that
and you guys healed me out afterwards. You're like, "I really had to do that." I go, "I don't know. It came over me."
I did. No, because you were like, "Listen, she's a stranger. And she's not one of us, and she can't hear this stuff." Right. And I was like, "But you could have did it nicely."
Nicer. I know.
What a bitch.
Well, if I did, you wouldn't have the story to tell that you love them.
I know.
So secretly, you're glad I did it.
Oh my God. So funny. Another story I remember, and I can't remember, you had to have been there when we did the American Idol auditions. You sang for me, didn't you? Remember we had the big black dildo?
Did I remember that? Oh yeah! Oh my God! Yes,
that was the microphone.
Right, we were singing in the microphone. What the hell?
It was. I don't know. They said They told me pretend you're Simon Cowell.
Right.
And I had two other girls next to me.
About that, yes.
And all of you guys had to like sing songs into a black dildo.
I forgot about that till you told me. Oh my God.
You were horrible. You were singing at the top.
I was singing away. I didn't give a shit. Yeah.
Oh my God. The fun. We had so much fun in that company. I wish, this is what I wish. I wish all of us could get together for a weekend and just watch DVDs and like have cocktails.
Oh my God. Yes. That would be
the most fun ever.
Oh my God. That would be so freaking funny. Yeah.
What's your favorite memory of that company?
My favorite memory, like when I moved to like Louisville, remember in between, and I got to come and see you guys. It was a way to hang out with everybody since I moved away.
Right.
I think there's so many. Well, actually, one of my favorite top ones is the wedding gown, the evening gown match of Bridesmaids. It really was.
So they were, oh yeah. So I had you, I had Amy Lee, and I had Shannon, God rest her soul, as my bridesmaids. And the gimmick was Fonzie came in, and Fonzie was like, I guess he was like the referee or whatever, but he was trying to cause a divide.
But weren't you refereeing that match though? You were.
He made me a referee.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, he was like the head referee or something, in charge of whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, because at the end I'm like, you can never break us up because we have a bond that's
we have a bond that's unbreakable.
gonna live forever. Blah blah. But you all wore the bridesmaids dresses that you wore to my wedding, and then they got destroyed. Y'all ripped them
off to shreds. There was a meme on that too, because it was pretty funny, like all the bridesmaids fighting over each other. It was funny though. That was one of my favorite memories too, because it was just so ridiculously funny. Because Amy Lee was going to strip, and you know how much she bitched about that.
Yes,
but down to her biker shirts and her vest thing, I was dying.
She had a full outfit on,
like tights. I was like, go. And then Shannon was like, well, I can't. And I was the only jerk that had to be in a bikini.
Oh my god, it was so fun.
It was so much. Like your wedding was fun too. Funny story at your wedding. We were drinking champagne or whatever, lining up for the pictures. Amy Lee put her foot through and ripped it. So you know me, I start laughing. She was so fucking hot. She's like, I don't think it's funny. That she's really nice to everybody, and she's like healing me out. And I was gonna stop laughing because it was funny as shit. She almost tripped out of the limo.
Wait, do you remember in the limo when my nephew called her fat? And she got hot at my 5-year-old nephew in the
Oh my god. Oh my god, I can't. In her Hulk Hogan room.
Yeah. Oh my god.
That room explains her whole childhood right there. The Hulk Hogan room.
Oh, I know. But the wedding was great because you were in the bathroom butt naked. And my cousin runs out of the bathroom and runs up to me and she says, there's a girl in the bathroom and she's completely naked. And I go, oh, that's probably Cindy. Let me go see what's going on.
Oh my God.
And I run in and Cindy's like, I got my period. And I go,
yes, you remember that?
Oh,
my God,
you're like, do you have a tampon? I go, I'm in my wedding dress. Like, where am
I don't even know where I got one from, to be honest with you.
I do.
Where did I get it?
Artie, Amy's husband, Art,
he went out
7-Eleven.
Right. Oh my God, what a horrible thing.
At my wedding.
That was so funny. I guess, and one of your other special guests there.
Which one?
Tammy.
Tammy was there. Yeah, Tammy was there.
Oh.
Well, wait. When we were in the church, you know, you're in the church. It's a very, very nice, quiet, peaceful. Mm-hmm. These three goofballs are in the pew dancing, giggling, and I'm giving them laser eyes. Like, you need to stop right now. And they're all looking at. They all get nervous, and I'm like, I'm on the altar with the priest, and I'm looking at them like.
You thought you were gonna have a normal wedding with us there?
Oh my God! And I wouldn't have picked anybody else because I love.
Oh my God! No,
you guys were my crew. Like
my favorite wedding ever.
Was it? Oh, it was.
I'm
fun.
sure my wedding was your favorite.
So your wedding. Talk about your wedding.
Pregnant. That's funny.
Before we get into any of the other wrestling that you've done.
Okay, all right, whatever.
Okay, so Cindy, you know, her and I really good friends. Will you be in my wedding? Yes. Will you be in my wedding? Yes. Okay, we're in each other's weddings. She tells me the bridesmaids' dresses don't have to match; they just have to be red. Correct.
Correct.
Okay, so I find this really pretty dress. Now I'm like 4.5 months pregnant, so I have this.
You were
belly.
showing too.
I was showing, right. My boobs are big, like all this stuff. So there's like a room that the girls were getting dressed in, like a dressing room, and there was part of your family that I never met, right?
Right.
But the part that I knew, I was, you know, because we're comfortable with each other, and we saw each other's boobs a million times. It's like no one cares.
No one cares at that point, right?
I just decide to get dressed in this room because that's where everybody's getting dressed. Well, your other side of your family walk in and oh my God, oh, she's naked. And they And I'm standing there bare-breasted with my belly. I'm like, hi, I'm Francine. How are you?
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, they didn't want to hear that. So they go running out of the room. It was so
Oh my God.
embarrassed.
No, the favorite part was when Al's brother tried to hit on you.
So, okay. So
Tell that story.
the build-up for that was not everybody was paired up. Like no one had a partner. It was this wedding was very bizarre to me, but it was fine. So Meanie, the blue Meanie, Brian Heffron, was there for Al Snow. And for those of you don't know, her ex-husband is Al Snow. There's wrestling people there and all this good stuff. So I say to Meanie, do you want to be partners? To walk me down the aisle. And he says, oh yeah, because we knew each other. And, so this man comes running across the thing and he says, I don't have a partner. Why don't I have a partner? So I go, oh, you want to be our partner? You can walk with us. It's fine. And I didn't know who he was, but he was in the wedding.
Oh my God, I'm going to cry.
And he goes, sure, I'll walk with you guys. So I'm walking, I grab each of their arms and I got two guys, one on each side. My husband is sitting in the chair. We're doing like a rehearsal. And the guy says to me, so, what are you doing after the wedding? And I go, I don't know. He says, you want to like maybe hook up or something? I go, well, if you didn't notice, I'm kind of pregnant right now. And I go, my husband.
He was probably hot for it.
Hey, I said, my husband's sitting right there. And he goes, oh, he can join us.
Oh, and that's perfect. It was Dave, Al's brother. He's such a sleazeball. Like, he really is. So when you tell me that, I go, oh, another Dave story. Yep. He was not surprising at all. Trying to have a threesome. I'm surprised he didn't ask me to join in.
Listen. As I'm walking, I'm going, oh, and I'm trying to get Meanie. I'm going, oh my God, weirdo.
I think Meanie does.
I told my husband, he was like, what the fuck?
He's like, come on, honey, let's go. Because he was
hilarious.
That guy was, yeah.
He was out there.
It would have to be Brad Pitt or somebody hot if you're going to do that shit. And I'd be like, I don't blame you, girl.
First of all, like, my better half. He's not doing that crazy stuff.
He's not.
I'm 40. I'm fat with my baby in my belly. Like, I told Al, and he just shook his head.
Yeah, because Al knew his brother is just, he goes to bars and like drinks and, has like a tab, and then he like doesn't pay him. He runs out on him. And he knows the people that he runs out on them with. One of my friends, they were married that run the bar, almost had a heart attack over this guy because he was like doing all this stupid shit. Al's brother. He keeps getting kicked out and trying to come back. I was like, only your brother. Now, for the list, he's trying to have a threesome with Francine and her husband while she's pregnant.
I was like, well, I'm flattered. I'm kind of grossed out because this is a weird situation.
Oh my God, that was
funny. Yeah, and I felt like you were wasted, and you kept going, "Come dance, come do this, come do that." My cankles were like so swole. I was so pregnant.
Oh my God.
Like, I'm so fat. I couldn't.
My water's gonna break on the floor. I
was like, I gotta go back. Yeah, because I was staying with Jamie with Lollipop.
Yeah, and
we drove all the way to to you guys. So that was hilarious, and it was cold. It was February, wasn't it?
It was actually a nice day in February. I just remember somebody from a girl in my hair school. She was throwing up out in the gutter. I was like, "Yeah, good as you came." She's like,
well, when I stayed at Lollipop's house the night before, her heat broke. So it was like 52.
It was cold there.
It was 52 degrees. Yeah, it was Ohio, and it was like 52 degrees in her house. It was freezing, and so I had to get up to go to the bathroom, and I remember running because it was so cold, and then running back, and then like jumping into the bed, freezing.
That's horrible. Oh yeah, that's horrible.
Hilarious. But
good times.
We did. There's so much more. We had so much. Oh my God.
I know.
Did you fall?
Yeah, I sure did. I actually have it leaning up against my fan right now.
Yes, please.
Right.
There's
you're paying attention.
Yes, I'm always paying attention. So many fun things, but let's go back. So for those of you, a lot of people might not know this, but you were in like WWF.
Right.
How did you start there? Just a brief. You don't have to give me.
No,
brief
I am
story.
actually on the indies. You know, you were an ECW member, and you come do some indie shows with us or whatever. So me and Inferno went on this tour for the South. And you had all these bookings, and we were somewhere. I couldn't even tell you where. And then Bruce Pritchard came up to me because afterwards, and he goes, "Listen, we'd like to offer you a developmental. Call me." But I was going to go to ECW the following week. Remember? Finally, Tommy's like, "All right, enough of the indies. Come with us."
I wish
Then,
you would have.
me too. You know, knowing what I know now, I definitely would have been like, "Fuck you," and went and been at ECW with you.
Yeah.
But Tommy Dreamer's like, when New York calls, you got to go. And so everybody's like, no, you got to go to W. I go, but yeah. They're like, no, go to W because that's what everyone does. Well, needless to say, that's how it started. And then I started training up in Connecticut with the Mean Street Posse, which is another thing. And then I was down in Memphis with them too.
Right.
But yeah, good times.
So, you were a Godfather's hoe.
Mm-hmm.
And I just saw an interview with him, and he said the way that the girls became like hoes and recurring hoes is that they would bring him weed. Were you one of the girls who brought him?
Dude, actually those girls were the strippers. I was the only one under contract, so I was kind of like, just like we were at WW. Like I was one of the person, like I was really actually knew how to wrestle and stuff, and they didn't.
Right?
But, yeah, no, I didn't bring him anything.
So how I know I'm
no, I didn't bring him.
How
nothing.
did it come about for you to get the belt, the hardcore belt?
So as I was down there, so this is from what I've been told. Trish, I was signed before Trish Stratus, and so they were like kind of looking at me to take Sable's spot, and so they were like asking for the pictures and doing. Then Trish got signed, the same thing as R-Truth did. Now Vince's thing was Trish was on like every muscle. She didn't know how to wrestle because we actually watched her learn how to wrestle. You know what I mean, on TV, and she had like on every fitness magazine. So you take me, even though everyone said I should have got it just because I was the one who really wrestled and that's what I wanted to do. But they gave it to Trish. So now they put me down in Memphis because they really don't know what to do with me. And then what they were doing with the Ho Train. They were looking for a wrestler to join the Ho Train. And I was like, I just asked Bruce, I go, look, just then put me on the Ho Train. I'd be happy. So I wind up, next thing you know it, I'm on the Ho Train. Next thing I know, everyone's calling me champ. I'm like, what the fuck are these people talking about, champ? I'm like, all right. Well, I come to find out, they go, you're going to win the hardcore belts. And they even said, like, Fast Pin, Crash Holly, that if they would have known that they got a big pop and went over, they would have kept it going for a little bit. But that's how that happened. But hey, made history, right? My claim.
Yeah. And how long did you actually hold that belt for?
Oh, like 5 seconds.
Yeah, it was quick, right?
Yeah, he turned around. Yeah, that's what he said. They would have and then I did some stuff talking about the belt and shit, like chasing a belt. But they would have said they kept it longer if they would have known. And then after that, Coca-Cola goes, well, I guess they never really listened what the Godfather was, and they were like, we can't have sponsor this if you guys are going to do this. So then they took us off, and then they turned them into the Godfather. Remember, they did the whole thing, and so they kept me there. And they're like, we're going to bring him back, but they couldn't bring him back because they would lose money. They would lose their, all the sponsorship. Yeah, so that's where that came up. My only heat is in the book where it says hardcore. They have the hoe. They never put my real name on it. I'm like, fuck that. I earned that. My name should be in that book. I think if I get called and yelled at, I'm like, why is my name not in the book, bitches? Yeah, like the
what did they call you?
I don't know. I think Pam or Paul or something like. I think Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler just made it up on the spot, or Pat, some like grandmother's name.
Oh, Gertrude.
Gertie. Hey, Gertie. And here you go, Gertie the hooker.
Oh my God. Crazy.
Oh, God. Yeah.
I really wish you would have came with us.
I wish so too. Knowing I know now, I would have been fuck you, WWF, and would have went with you guys. But everyone kept telling me no, because I knew maybe it's a blessing. We probably got killed on the road the way we were going at it. We would have more fun. No, I'm just kidding. We would have had good times.
You and me would have been attached at the hip.
That's
for
right.
Sure.
And then, like we normally do when we go to the show, sit back and laugh.
I know. What about the TNA stuff? Because you and I were there the first.
Yes. So yes, they were there. I don't know whatever happened. We were supposed to come back reoccurring. Like we were under contract, but they didn't fulfill the contract. I have my suspicions on what happened there, but I'll let a lying dog lie. I think I know where it fell through.
Do you?
Jealousy. I think a lot of it was, and try to push me into their thing. But it is what it is. It wasn't meant to.
What did you sign? Because I only signed for 4 appearances.
Yeah, I signed like a contract for like, I don't know, 6 or 7, something like that. And how many did we actually do? I think
I did 4. I signed for 4. I did 4.
Okay, so I didn't do. They didn't fulfill my contract. I had more left to do, and everyone's like, "Sue." I go, "Why the fuck am I going to sue? That's so stupid." Does anybody not know the wrestling business? I'm like, "We need to sue for that." I'm like, "No, that's like chump change. I got to do that." And then like,
how many shows did you actually do? Just the 2?
I don't know. I did like 4, I think, because I was with David Young and we went
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you didn't get to do the battle royal with us.
No, I was gonna say did I do that? No, I didn't. Right. It was Kathy, you, and I forget.
Oh, it was a mess. Mm-hmm. It was a mess.
I did watch it, but you know what? It was so much fun.
It was fun. It was just stupid.
Mm-hmm.
It was just
well, that's when, remember, you'd go out and there. Well, they weren't making any money. You'd go out there. And there's like they had to move everybody over one side so it would look like it was full.
Yeah. What was at the fairgrounds?
At the fairgrounds in Nashville.
Yeah. And you had to pay $10 to watch it.
That's hilarious. Yeah. Oh, wait, wasn't it start out as $5? I think then it went to 10.
No, it was 10.
Oh, was it 10?
It was 10 right off the bat. And I remember Bob Ryder called me and said, you have to do press for us. You're gonna do like a press tour with radio. And the first radio spot I did, the guy says, "Oh yeah, you're doing a lingerie battle royal. What do you think of it?" I go, "I am." They never told me.
Oh my God, that's great.
No one told me. So after I got off the radio, I called Bob Ryder. I said, "Am I supposed to bring lingerie?" He goes, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh,
gosh,
no one told me."
Nobody
told me. Okay, yeah. So
Keep
stupid, so
is.
dumb. But I liked it there.
Mm-hmm.
I did like it there. I liked everybody. The girls were nice.
Yeah, it was a good. It was a good locker room for sure. I think so too.
Yeah.
Now I don't know the new TNA. That was a whole different story because we were at the very first.
But so I hung out with the girls from this era, and they're all great.
Right. Yeah.
Fun. Yeah. Fun. And the guys too. Like I'm friends with a lot of the guys that work there now. They're fun. They're a fun group of people.
Because like anything, like especially like WWF, everybody's so worried about their spot, like they're gonna like somebody's gonna take it. Like you could see how some of the top people is like my first day at WWF. I've worked on indie shows with The Rock in the past, so he's like, "Hey, I'm like I see you here," and I could see everybody looking at me. He invites me to eat lunch with him. I'm thinking to myself, "This is the deal. This is gonna be a curse." They're gonna be thinking, "Oh," and I was sitting there eating lunch with them. Do you know that every eye was on my back? Thinking like, oh, what's she gonna try to do? Get with The Rock? So she gets, but you know how they think.
Mm-hmm.
And like you could feel it, like your back's like, oh, get off me.
Oh,
yeah. It's a shitty business in that way. You can't.
What a shame that girls just get a reputation unearned. Just for the guy. Or
I have had people say this about me when they never did, and I've confronted.
Me too.
I'm like, do you think I wouldn't remember if I ever? I go, first of all, you're not my type. I would never get near you. I said, so stop fucking telling people. I go, what do you get from telling people that? I'd like to know. What do you get? What's the thing? Because you didn't hit it.
It's unbelievable. And then they do these shoot interviews, and people hold their word like it's gospel. And it's just like, man, like what do you get out of making women look bad?
It's men. Men are pigs. No offense to you guys that listening, but yeah, you do. Like you don't care. Like they just don't care. They say whatever comes out of their fucking mouth, like diarrhea.
Such a bad business. But it
really is. It is. I mean, considering how like us, but it's really not an environment you really want to have your daughter around.
No, I believe now it's changed.
Oh God, yeah, now
better because like I remember we were going to the airport one morning and Brian Myers, I had a headache. We drank way too much the night before. And I was like, man, my head hurts. And he goes, here, I have Advil. And I go, are you sure you're not going to roofie me? And he goes, this isn't 1996 or whatever he said. He goes, we just play video games now. We don't roofie girls. And I was like, right, you know.
But they've got a human resources there. Like, it's like if anybody complains, like, and it's just crazy. It's like I go, WWE with the human resources, considering all the shit that's going on over there. It's like,
but it's a different generation.
But yeah,
yeah, and I think like the Me Too movement and all that. I think a lot of guys got scared and smartened up, and they don't want to get canceled. And
you know what happened?
Some of them.
You know what happened to them? The internet. Before
we
cell phones, we didn't have internet, we didn't have cell phones, so you can get away with a lot of shit like that. Nowadays, you can't do shit. Like, if cell phones ruin athletes' careers, but well, shouldn't be fucking doing that shit then. If you're gonna make $1 million, don't be stupid.
We're lucky we didn't have the internet back then.
Oh, that's what I said. I go, oh my god, thank God we didn't have it. Like, part of it, we probably would have made a lot more money in Denver, but then the other part was like, oh god.
I feel like if the internet was strong back then, I think ECW could have been saved.
Oh yeah,
because there were resources to YouTube or Fight TV or all this kind of stuff that pick up wrestling. Like, we didn't have any other output to use.
No, you didn't.
But the boys would have been condemned because of all the stuff that they did.
Oh God, I just feel like some shit I seen. I don't even want to tell about. I got kicked out one time because I'm not saying anybody. Somebody was smoking with their coochie, and they're like, she said wouldn't do it if Bobcat was in the room. They go, get out.
Yeah,
I was like,
I know,
what?
It's crazy.
I know.
I told that story. We had a girl who interviewed with us, if you can call it an interview, and went in the men's bathroom, laid down, and stuck a cigarette in her puss and started smoking it. And then Balls Mahoney runs out and was like, she's smoking a cigarette with her pussy, and he's freaking out, and he's running back and forth like this girl is cancer or something.
And so, lip cancer.
And so I just sat there and I was like, oh, that's great. And then the girl comes up to me and she goes, I'm so sorry if I embarrassed you. And I go, you embarrassed yourself by smoking a cigarette with your vagina. So, but like crazy stuff like that.
I know. Like,
I don't know.
Like, yeah, rats and all that stuff. Like, we've seen all that crap. And
I've seen it all. I've seen it all.
It's just shitty situations. Like, what do you do?
I mean, you can't pull out your cell phone because they didn't have them back then. So, you can be a sketch artist and draw a picture of what you see.
You're like, so now the play-by-play is.
Oh my God.
Play-by-play is happening now.
Yeah, exactly. What else did we do? What else? What other? I'm just thinking of like so many. I remember, this was Atlanta. Center Stage, I think we were at maybe.
Oh, is that where we got kicked out of the hotel?
Well, we did the two. Remember, there was a female show and then a male show, and I was on both of them that night. And after you guys waited for me, and after we got done, we were all in our pajamas, and we went to the liquor store.
Yeah,
we walked in our pajamas to the liquor store. And I say to myself all the time, like, that was such a fun night.
It was a great night.
It was so fun because like nobody got like to the point where you thought they were going to die.
Right. No,
but
no.
we partied, but it wasn't like disgusting.
No.
Like, no one got weird.
Yeah. No one got weird. Like,
no, right. We were just a bunch of girlfriends.
We just, because we stayed in a room and listened to stories. Like, we didn't go hanging out like that. It was just, we had so much fun in the hotels, like running around like crazy.
I remember a story about you.
Oh, I remember another story. Go ahead.
All right, hold yours. Let me say it before I forget it.
Yeah.
I think we were in Dallas, Texas.
Oh, yeah.
And so I get to with Passion, and we walk in the room, and I put my bags down, and she goes, oh, I'll just stay with you. And she puts her bags next to mine. And 5 minutes later, you come walking in, hey. And I'm like, hey. And you go, whose bags are these? And she goes, they're mine. Passion goes, they're mine. And you go, she's my best friend. Get your bags and get out. You guys almost fist fought.
Yeah.
Over who was going to stay with me in the room.
First of all, she invited herself there. Nobody said she could stay with us. Like, what the fuck? And then she got mad. Like, I'm like, dude, just not your room. Get out.
Cindy, you guys almost threw punches. If
I
I didn't
know.
get between you, you guys would have fist fought.
Oh, fucking for sure.
I said, look, I know I'm popular, girls, but really,
We're fighting over you.
fight over me.
We're fighting over you. I mean,
I'm
get out of my spot. That's my bed. Get the fuck out.
And then when we went to Chiller and I was pregnant and you were spooning me and I was hanging off the bed. I'm like, you're like, I just want to cuddle. Please just hold me. I'm like, Cindy, I have no room.
I was like, I'm always such a cuddler. She's like, I don't like sleeping because you always cuddle me. Smother you. Oh my God. Good times.
April Hunter was with us. And she was eating hard-boiled eggs and farting. Remember?
Yes.
I'm like, oh my God, I'm dying.
I gotta get my Beano. That's what she was saying. I'm like, get a lot of it.
What's the story you remember?
Okay. So remember, I think this is when we were doing the Electric Factory for Women's Extreme Wrestling, and Chris had just died.
Yes.
And you trying to be the great person that you are, like, oh, well, let's help her because she's, having a hard time. Tammy, I'm like, I don't know if that's a good idea. Never turns out good. And then you're like, no, we're gonna help her. So okay, what happens? We go and help her. She's there, and then she was supposed to drive us back to the hotel. Remember?
I do.
So it's now dark. We're in the worst neighborhood possible. Like
So
I go that if God was in our favor, because another couple hours, her and I would probably never been seen again. And then I'm like, fucking Tammy, I'm yelling at Francine, she's done it again. She's done it again. And out of nowhere comes, I was like, you see what happens when you're trying to be good to her? Look what she did. I told you it'd be a bad idea. And out of nowhere comes Atlas Security, like God.
With the clown car. Remember, we got to jump. There was 8 people in the car.
I know. And then
we were in our gimmick outfits.
Yes.
In an abandoned parking lot at like 12:30 at night with no ride.
No ride. And out of nowhere comes Atlas Security. And we're like, oh my, he goes, what are you girls doing out here? I go, Sunny was supposed to pick us up. And they start laughing. Then so that same night, she wound up in Jersey in the hospital some night. She had left with the DJ. Way to go, Tammy. Thank you for looking out for your friends.
It breaks my heart, though.
I know. You're I don't know. She's done it to herself, though. I know you don't want to hear it, but
no, believe me, I know it pisses me off, but it breaks my heart.
I know, but she has so many chances, and if she wasn't she's not even a nice person. She's like so mean to fucking people. She's like, you know how she is. Like the world begins and ends around her. It's all about. All
I know is that night. That's the night that they found her in the graveyard.
Yep, in Jersey, walking around. Right? Was it Jersey? Yeah,
I don't know
it was in Jersey. Yeah, because one of the guys
where Chris was buried. Was it?
I don't think it was in Jersey, but I don't think it was where Chris was buried.
I don't remember. They just found her in a graveyard with her car on the side. I don't know. It broke my heart. I just. Anyway, yeah, we didn't have a ride, and we were in our gimmick outfits, which was worse.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. If the Atlas Security didn't come running or like coming down like that, and then remember what's his face? Steve D'Angelo comes running down there. Wait for me! Remember that?
It was a clown car because there was 42 people in it.
I know.
And we were sitting on like Ronnie's lap or something.
Oh my God. And we're like, and then fucking Steven D'Angelo, just slides and lays over everybody in the back. And we're like, I'm like, don't worry, they would have gave him back. They would have kept him.
Hilarious. Oh my God. We had such good times. I'm trying. There are so many other stories that are just crisscrossing in my head.
I know. It's like, because you think about one thing, then another, then like who, this person and that person. Yeah. It's just like so many things. Like, perfect example, the one where we got thrown out of the hotel because of they had to put a bunch of crazy wrestlers in a hotel with a bunch of people at church. They were going to some big church event.
Yes.
Remember what fucking we were up all night and fucking what's her face comes in like it's Greek. Veronica smashes the plate on the floor. I go, what are you, Greek? And then we're loud and we're hanging out or whatever. So it's in the morning. So we didn't have to be there till at night in the building, right? In the morning. And Amy Lee and I were rooming together, I think. I don't know who else. A bunch of people were in there. But anyway, the phone rings. And there's a person at the other end goes, how do you like it? How do you like being woken up? She goes, you know what I'm doing right now? I'm fucking Satan! And she hangs up.
Oh, I was in the room.
Yes, that's what I
I
said.
stayed with you that night. Yeah, I was there.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, Lord.
And then, like, yeah, and she's like, I'm fucking Satan. I'll never forget that. Then that was, remember, they asked us never to come back. Way to go, girls. I'm like, okay. I got great booking skills.
I remember you and I going to some, I don't know if it was a mall, and we bought matching outfits, and we did the golf. We were caddies.
Golf caddy. Oh my God. Yes, we were caddies for. Oh my God, that was hilarious.
We had the same. We bought a Playboy white tank top that said Playboy.
Then we have
like booty shorts,
and we had a little cap on. We were like, "Oh, this is gonna be so much fun. We're gonna make so much money."
Yeah, it was great.
Mm-hmm.
I was the only one who was serious about keeping score. You
yeah, I was like, not me. I was like, fuck it, we're here to have fun. Do you think they hired us to play to keep the score? He's like, yeah. I'm like,
I didn't get to stay with you because remember the man requested me.
Yeah,
and I had to go with him, and you guys left me, so I had to I don't know. I was keeping score. He gave me like $100. That was my tip. Was that good? I don't even know.
No.
Oh, I got robbed. Lifestyle is not the norm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it really, we're very blessed and very lucky that we get to do things and go places. And there's a lot of kids who don't have anything. So, and they get it, they understand and they're very thankful. But I think in the beginning, they just thought everybody did Disney for 37 days out of the year. And I'm like, no, honey, they don't.
Wrong way. So it's backwards. Look at Tanner. Groomer.
Listen, I added a day this trip. We're at 17.
Oh my God. 17?
We're at 17 days this time. Yes. I added a day.
Lord.
And I'm curious, when you guys go, do you go in to the park every day?
We do. So we do 10 days for park days. And then the other days are just Disney Springs, where all the restaurants are. We'll walk around Disney Springs. If it's hot, we'll take the kids to the pool. We'll go to the arcade. So you need rest days because I'm telling you, we walk 10 to 20,000 steps a day.
Yeah.
There. Yeah. It's a lot of walking,
What time when do you guys go? February, March?
The end of January. So we'll be there.
Don't go in the summer.
Oh, we have, and we will never. It's too hot. Although I will tell you, next year is 2025. 2026, we're not going to go in January. We're actually going in June to Disneyland in California because we have to go to Vegas. There's a conference for work, so we have to go to Vegas. So we're going. Okay, so we're going to Illinois to visit his parents. We're flying to Vegas. We're driving to Illinois. We're flying to Vegas. We'll be in Vegas for 4 days. We're driving to Anaheim. We'll be there for 8 or 9 days. Coming back to Vegas, sleeping overnight, flying back to Illinois, and then driving back home.
So you have 2026 all planned out already?
Yeah, because
I'm trying to plan tomorrow.
Because of his conference. That's
okay,
why.
hey, listen, planning is great, so I'm all about it.
Well, because my son's not good on airplanes. I mean, going to Florida, it's 2.5 hours for us and he's like fidgety. Are we almost done? So there's no way he's flying to California for 6 hours. So we figured we have to go to Vegas anyway. We might as well just drive halfway, visit his family. It's a 3-hour flight over to Vegas, and then we'll drive 4 hours.
That's easy to fix, though. You can just give him 5 or 6 shots of whiskey.
No, he goes, Mom, just give me a lot of melatonin and knock me out. I go, I will not. I'm not going to do that. You're fine.
Come on, the Queen of Extreme, you're supposed to go, Connor. I'll take care of you. I will.
Listen,
Chad, how's family doing?
I tried to show them
Good,
a
man.
clip of us. I tried to show them a
Yeah.
clip of us working. They didn't want to see any of it. They were not interested. They had they said, Mom, we don't want to see you get hurt.
What, you broke a little hip? I mean,
Ah,
it's not like you don't have two of them.
it hurts, actually. This weather is really getting to me, man. I might have to get a replacement soon. Sucks.
I don't know about you, but like when my kids outgrew it and went to like UFC and stopped watching, I was thrilled. I was like, man, I don't want my kids anywhere near this industry.
Well, that brings up a good point, and I wanted to talk about this. Knowing you did not see it, but have you heard the hype about the Costco family for AEW? It's AJ is the dad, Big Justice is his son. I don't know. He's about 11. He looks about 11 or 12 years old, the son, Chad, something like that.
Something
Then
like
they
that.
have the best friend who's the Rizzler, right? And he's 8 years old. Okay.
Yeah.
They do TikTok videos, and that's how they blew up. Chad hates them. I love them. Okay. This is where anywho, the dad used to be an indie wrestler like 20 years ago in the independents in New Jersey.
Yes.
Right. So
The Costco guy?
Yeah, they go to Costco and they'll eat, like, their thing is double chunk chocolate chips. They eat chocolate chip cookies, and they eat like these chicken baked, whatever Costco has. They review food, I guess. I don't know. I've never watched their TikToks. But I started watching interviews with them because they started blowing up, right?
Yeah.
I found out the dad was a wrestler. Well, here, AEW just had a pay-per-view this past weekend. They had the father on to wrestle QT Marshall. And the kid, his son, was his manager. And the little boy, he's so chunky. He's so cute, but he's this. I'll have to send you a picture when we're done.
The word is husky.
Yes, he's very husky. I love him.
If you got to take your kid to H Dumpty's, like my mother did.
Put up a picture of the Rizzler?
Yeah.
Oh, I have their latest Boom video. I have their latest video.
Yeah, that's
from
their thing. They have a song. They bring the boom. You never heard it?
No.
They bring the boom. Here we go. There they are. Look at the Rizzler, the little one.
So the dad, AJ, he was the American power child Eric Justice on the New Jersey indie scene. If you remember the Joe Panzerino NWS, he was like the constant babyface on those shows. He used to like paper the shows with his 8x10s. That's how like he was their guy. So that's how I remember him.
Yeah, he looks familiar to me.
You probably had many a show with him.
Boom. Wait, you got to say it. It's great.
Here's their little song.
We bring the boom. That's what we do. We bring the boom. We bring the boom to you. We bring the boom. We bring the boom to everyone. We bring the boom.
It's
so right,
bad.
So you see
it's
that, right?
So bad.
It's so great. So they were on
Oh
AEW this past weekend. They did the pre-show. They were like the main event of the pre-show.
Right.
Let me tell you, Shane, the little chunky kid, the Rizzler, who I love so much, he had his own entrance. He was the guest timekeeper. Paul White came out first, and then they brought this kid out. The place popped. It was like Sandman returning to the ECW arena. Loud. They love this kid. He was so over. And every time he does the Rizzler face, he goes like that. And every time the camera hit him, he hit it the wrist face. The kid knows how to work.
I was going to say, it sounds like some of the other guys there should have maybe paid attention, right?
Oh my God! I said Tony Khan signed this kid. He's amazing.
Well, what was the connection there? How did they get on the show?
Smart marketing.
They were just on Jimmy Fallon like last month or something. Like they're blowing up. They're everywhere. And then they did. I think they were on Fox News or something. Like they are doing the circuit, and then they just. I don't know how they ended up in AEW. But they did.
Smart marketing. That's how. If Vince was around, this would be in WWE. Like, no doubt.
I wonder if they're represented by somebody, or you have an attorney or something that knows that field, or even maybe a connection to Tony in some way, being Tony Khan, being in being that he was in the wrestling business back then. But there must be, if they're making the rounds like that and being on like Jimmy Fallon, then most likely they got representation.
Well, let me just tell you, the match was so fun. It was so fun, and that QT guy put him over. I mean, sold everything. I was sitting. I didn't watch the pay-per-view yet, but I made sure to watch this match because I love that little kid. He's just adorable. It was so friggin' fun. That place was erupting for these three. Like, it was so good. I loved it.
I was out with my buddy last night, and he told me that he had just watched one. I don't know if it was this past week or whatever, but he said the arena was damn near empty.
Well, it wasn't this week.
Wasn't this show? This show they sold very well.
Yeah, this show was packed. It was pay-per-view, so it was packed.
Was it from New Jersey?
Yeah.
So that's why.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So smart. Like, again, smart marketing. I mean, if you got somebody that can get that kind of a pop, regardless of how they're there, as long as it's nothing, child porn or anything like that.
No. It was just, he rang the bell. But when he came out, like they popped for Paul White, but the kid, it was like a million decibels higher than Paul's pop. Like, they went nuts for and he's just going like this the whole time, and he's waving at people. It was so fun. Like, I enjoyed it. He's so over. You see, this is Chad's problem. Okay, I'll tell you right now, because I've been working with him for 5 years. He's a hater, and he's jealous of everybody who goes higher than him. That's his problem.
Me? What? I'm not jealous.
You are a hater.
I'm not jealous at all.
Hater. The whole
No
word
way.
is capital H, capital A-T-E-R, hater.
Now, Shane, you've known me a little bit longer. Would you consider me a hater, even slightly?
I don't think we were had any reason to talk about anything on the outside.
Jesus, please. Let me just tell you. Anything that I bring up that is over, that I enjoy, I don't get it. I think it's stupid. This is dumb. Why do people like this? I hate it. I'm like, dude.
Well, if it's on TikTok, you sure they're not Chinese spies?
Oh, dear God. Here he goes again.
He's got a point.
I'm telling you. Go watch. We like funny ha-ha. We like gaga. There's something for everyone on the card. This was a wholesome, feel-good, just father and son and the friend, and he put him over. It was just a good time, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Everybody on social media put it over except for this guy. This guy with the hat and the glasses on. It all over.
Hater.
Don't get it. But I get why they use them. I get. I think it was the match was very well done. He actually AJ broke his foot in the match.
Did he really? I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Oh.
So I mean, I give him all the credit in the world. I don't know if it was there was a big suplex. I don't know if it was during that.
Top rope. Yeah, from the top.
There was some move in the corner. There was something where he broke his foot. I don't know which move it was exactly, but I give him all the credit in the world for coming out of retirement, having the match, the way they market themselves, AEW taking advantage of it. The fans being into it, the spot they had on the show, the views they're getting on everything. I give them all the credit in the world.
They
don't get it.
Listen,
just don't get it.
The third most watched clip with 10.8 million views. The third on their AEW channel on YouTube, there's only 2 clips that have more views than them. They have 10.8 million views.
I think
what they brought the boom.
I think it's more speaks about where the industry has gone, right? It's to be fair, the industry had always, at least from the time I was in the companies, were always playing off of social trends and things like that. If there was some big story in the news, that kind of thing. But now with TikTok and all of this stuff that we talk about all the time with our kids, like we all 3 grew up watching a television. My kids put their eyes on a TV when there's a Steeler game on, a Penguin game, or a UFC fight that they bought. Everything else is through a phone or a computer. We're watching, or we're in the midst of, and continuing to be in the midst of, some kind of a cultural change. Every one of us read a newspaper every day. Our parents and grandparents, for darn sure, read one, sometimes two a day. When's the last time any of us read a paper? We're seeing this massive shift to that TikTok and all that social media stuff, where kids get on there. Most of that stuff, I'm just too old to get. I see. I think the song was cool and the dancing and stuff like that. That's the kind of little quirky stuff that'll catch on. But most of the stuff that people were on there looking at and talking about, I'm like, why is anybody taking the time to watch this? I just obviously I'm the one missing out somewhere. But it's
no, you're not missing out.
And I think we're just watching it all go that way, right? It's don't be surprised if within the next year or two or 6 months, somebody on TikTok, an influencer on TikTok, becomes world champion for AEW or WWE.
Well, it's that
Logan
analogy. Paul. That analogy makes me laugh too, because you had mentioned like the trend, what's trendy right now, and let's grab it and put it on television. Do you remember what Paul put on TV that was trendy?
No.
Divine Brown.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was our Costco guy. We had Divine Brown. For those of you who don't know who Divine Brown was, she was the prostitute that Hugh Grant was caught with back in the 90s.
Yeah.
She gave him a BJ.
What?
Next thing you know, she's at the ECW arena falling in the ring because she couldn't walk.
Hey, another side of the thing that Paul did or tried to do. Were you there, or was this earlier when they brought Leon Spinks in?
Yes, and he sat in the crowd.
Yeah, but remember,
like
yeah, but do you remember like when in the back, Paul was trying to get him? He wanted him to say his name, what he had been, world heavyweight champion in boxing, and that he really loves ECW. And
sad, he couldn't do it. Yeah,
50, 60 takes and still didn't get it.
Yeah.
How sad. Wow.
It was very sad. And what was sadder, or more sad, I should say, was when he was standing there and somebody almost got him kicked out because they thought he was a homeless guy.
Oh, God.
No, on a shoot, they were like, who is this guy in the back? Because nobody recognized him.
Right.
And then when we finally get him on television, he looks like he's either stoned or drunk. He's just sitting there with this shitty grin on his face, just like in the middle. It was like when E.T. was in the closet when Gertie opens the door and E.T.'s hiding. That's when he's amongst all the fans, and you see him sitting there. That's what it reminded me of, was E.T.
Yeah.
Very sad.
A real reminder of CTE and being punch drunk and stuff. All these phrases we have always heard out of wrestling. That was for me because I had seen him beat Muhammad Ali. It was basically had the fights on TV, and this was it wasn't like it was 50 years later. It was 10 years, 8 years later, and to see how. But he'd also been through a tough patch in his life. I'd read a book about him one time where he had been really, really bad on drugs, and then was living in like a halfway house, like homeless. But he towards the end of his life, he was able to get it fairly straightened out, at least at the time I was reading that book. So it was, just sad to see that, it was, oh my God, that he's couldn't even say his name, what he had been, and 3 letters. Ugh. It was just Jesus. So
that just proves that he did not love ECW.
Yeah. Well, that's why by the way, Franny, tomorrow you start your boxing training. We're gonna get you to the octagon and go in there and cat fight with some of the chicks and
cat fight. Box or cat fight? I can cat fight. I don't know about boxing.
Ian, would you watch that?
What's it?
I'd be all in. Absolutely.
I'd buy that. I'd see that.
I'd bring the boom. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Gonna be 3 days. 3 days of this weekend, ladies and gentlemen.
Listen, you are blessed to have me as a best friend. Let me tell you how fun I am. You know it too, because
we laugh our asses off. That's the worst part of being with Franny and hacking those guys is you go home and you feel like you did 10,000 sit-ups without the results, right?
Yeah, I'll text sometimes I'll text Hack or Sandman for those who don't know, and like somebody will contact me and they'll want him for a show, just him, right? So I'll go, okay, whatever, Alaska 12/24, blah blah blah, and he goes, yeah, great. Are you coming? And I go, no, and he goes, I don't want it. I go, why not? And he's like, you have to come with me. And I go, bro, they don't want me. He goes, then I'm not doing it. I was like, dude, I have to go. And he's like, not if you're not there. I'm like, oh my gosh.
I have watched this dance between Moose and him for years now. He'll come in for the weekend and he'll get to the house or wherever it is we're going, and he'll say, what am I doing tonight? And he'll say, hey, you got a man, 6-man. He goes, I didn't agree to that. No, and Chris will say, well, let me show you the promo you did for it. And he'll watch it and go, shit, you got me.
Yeah. No, he complains from the minute he gets booked, right? Then we're booked for like 2 months in advance or whatever. And every once in a while I'll get a text, that show's still happening. I go, yeah. And I'll go, fuck. It's mad. And I'm like, dude, I'm coming. It'll be fine. Then I see him at the airport and he's like, I'm ready. I'm just ready to jump out a window. And I go, we haven't even done anything yet. But then once we are there and he's having a good time, he's like, oh, yeah. I'm so happy I'm here. And I'm just like, see, you just have to ease into it with him,
About a year and a half ago, we were at a signing somewhere. I want to say it was Maryland, maybe. And he got up to leave. How he does, he throws the cane over his shoulder, got his jug of water.
The Irish goodbye.
Yeah. Okay, well, Hack. And he wouldn't stop it. And I finally, Hack, stop. You're not going to say goodbye. And he goes, shit, dude, you know I hate goodbyes. And he comes over and gives me a quick
The Irish goodbye.
Yeah, only Hack, right? That would only work for Hack. None of us. It wouldn't be funny if I did it, but Hack does it. It's hilarious.
I met you at the ECW arena, the 2300 arena, it's called. And I was thrilled to meet you because one of the questions I always get, and this was back when you were still in WWE, if you can pick one WWE superstar to work with, who would it be? And I always picked you because for me, you kind of remind me of Shane Douglas in a way. And it's not just the good blonde hair either.
Sure.
Like the way you worked, your promo skills, like everything reminded me of a young Shane Douglas. And I always said he doesn't need me as a manager because you can get over on your own. But I think it would have been fun to work with you as a heel team.
Oh, so, yeah. That would have been an absolute blast, of course. And first and foremost, I'm a fan of yours, just like you. Until we met, I was a big fan of yours.
Thank you.
They say don't meet your heroes, or Francine.
Thank you.
No, huge fan. I grew up watching ECW. I'll be really quick about this. We didn't have cable for the longest time, so I had like a black and white UHF TV. And Friday nights it was an hour of ECW, and Saturday nights it was 2 hours of ECW. But it was just the same show twice. But I didn't care. I watched it anyway. And that's, I had a deep affection for ECW. And that was my first love of watching wrestling every week. So, and I was a big fan of yours. And even after meeting, I still am, since you're recording this.
Thank you.
So I would have loved to have you as a manager. We could still make it happen down the line.
Who knows?
Which would be even better. It'd be like that Britney Spears, Iggy Azalea videos, like just two gals on the town. Yeah.
Two gals hanging out on the town. I love that. Well, if any promoters are listening, we're available as a duo. So get in touch with either of us and we'll make it happen. So I was going over your history a little bit. I don't really trust Wiki too much because...
You shouldn't.
I don't, because I realize now that fans
don't trust nobody.
No, but I never knew that fans could update the page.
That's how that works?
I believe so. That's what I was told.
Oh, dear.
So I'm like reading stuff and I'm like, well, I don't know what's real and what's not real. And you have done a ton of interviews since you walked away from WWE. I don't want this interview to be redundant in any way, like the same kind of questions. So I'm going to talk about WWE just a little bit because there's a couple things that I was curious about. You started in 2004 through OVW and ended up there for about 19 years. Is that correct?
That's about it. That's my resume. 2004 WWE till present. Yes.
It's very impressive. Not many people could last that long. I lasted 6 months in that company. So, I'm the worst. Like
that's well, at the time it's the craziest stuff. It's all not getting injured at the wrong time, knowing somebody or not knowing somebody. There was a chance I was going to be in the Heartthrobs. Do you remember that tag team?
Yes.
Okay, so and they were great wrestling dudes who I liked, and they were jacked, and they had a couple of month run. Their debut was like losing, and I go, that was almost me. So it's a weird, and I was like mad that I was in a cheerleading group, but then somehow it's the craziest amount of things. It has nothing to do with like being better than someone. And sometimes it does, but it's just like the timing and weirdness of it. 19 years is like, we were told, Lance Storm was the teacher in OVW when I started, and he goes, mathematically, if the average is 2.7 years of television time, and it goes from some people having a couple months and then Undertaker having 75 years, and like somewhere in the middle is like 2.5 years. So make your money and get ready for the independent scene. And I go, okay, if I can just get 3 years here, I can make a living doing this for the rest of my life. It'd be great. And somehow just kept adapting and staying.
But in a sense, that's a great way to look at it because your expectations are kind of low.
Yeah.
And then you've exceeded them. So
that's not, in some ways, yes, but also in your head, you want to be the world champion for 20 years and never lose and have the company on your back. But it's also like, you could plan it that way, or you could be gone in a couple of months, no matter how awesome you are. There's so many people that I go, wow, not only is this guy going to take my job, I would applaud him for it and go, this is the guy to go with. And then 6 months later, they're gone or injured, and it's just, you never know how it's going to work.
Yeah.
So it's a crazy thing that you never know which way to go with it. I was very fortunate injury-wise, I think. So many different times I was never hurt. So I feel like that always came to help.
So one of the questions I had was, what is the worst injury you've ever suffered? Because like you said, you seem to be very consistent in your role.
Seemed to be. I missed like 3 weeks of work in 19 and a half years. So
that's
ditch that seemed to be bullshit real quick.
That's very amazing because like a lot of the guys that I used to work with were injured constantly and would work with a cast or with a splint or we would have to go to the merch table and we couldn't work, for that loop or something.
Right.
You're not getting hurt. How does one do that? Because how are you so safe in the ring?
First of all, it's not me. Like, I'm not fighting myself. I mean, that'd be a hell of a match. I'd be impressed, but it would be, but I don't know. I can't explain it. I never let it happen. And a couple of times I have a couple concussions, which totally happens. And also I was at, 04, 05. It was still not Wild West Attitude Era, but it was, I was just telling the story to my brother the other day. I pulled my groin in a match. It was at the time where every year after WrestleMania, I was nervous that I was getting fired. This is a couple years in. And you go, I pulled my groin. Wow, this one really hurts. What should I do? And they're like, well, do you want us to tell Vince? Are you okay with losing your spot? And you're like, no, I'll work through it. So it's like, it's not Attitude Era. Like I need this, there's no salary coming in. There's no, you lose your spot if you get hurt. So I eventually, making up for it, pulled 2 groins because I was making up for the other one. And at that point, I'm getting wrapped around my waist and both groins before each match. I was getting injections into my thighs. And it was usually myself and Kofi. And I had the U.S. title, the Intercontinental title. And I would put a bag of ice inside the title in between my trunks. And I'd wear it for like the 15 minutes going out there. And I'd like pull up the title like this and the bag of ice would fall out. And I would start a match. And it was like kind of fun. But it was also like, hey, are you cool with losing your spot? And at the time, you're like, oh my God, I can't lose my spot. I'm 5'11", 190 pounds. I'm not a legacy. I don't have anyone rooting for me in the meetings. No, I cannot lose that spot. I'll fight through it. So so there is that aspect of like, I did get injuries all the time, like we all do, but somehow never got that very serious one where you leave. But also that affected me a little bit negatively, because if you have Triple H tearing his quad and then he comes back 9 months later and the place erupts because we missed this guy that we know, I never got to have that moment once or twice, or some guys get it 15 times. I got it 0 times. So I feel like that also hurt a little bit. So there's like a positive and a negative there, I guess.
Yeah. Well, here's my theory on you. Now, again, I didn't know you when you work there. I'm getting to know you now. Watching you as a fan and seeing the way you perform and the people you perform with, and you know who you're putting over week after week. You're there for 19 years, but as I'm watching you, I'm saying to myself, they're not using him correctly. There's so much more, because I see a star compared to other people. I'm not going to name others. I'm not, I see a star. And the way that sometimes, they put a belt on you here and there, but the way that they used you, in my opinion, I feel like there was so much more they always could have done. But you lasted 19 years. Do you feel like there was some heat that you didn't know about, that they had their thumb on you? There might have been somebody politicking against you. Like, were you aware of anything going on?
Yeah, of course. And it's a couple of things that I said earlier. One, it's like either nobody's rooting for you in the meeting because you're not 6'5" or 300 pounds, or you're not Vince or Hunter's favorite guy, so no one's going to be like, oh yeah, that's a good idea, boss, I like him too. There's not one of those things. And then there's also the other extreme to where Pat Patterson was a big fan of mine, and he was more of a consultant. So some months he's there every TV, sometimes he's talking to Vince all the time, and then some months he's just gone for a few because he was a little bit older and he's enjoying his life, he's on vacation and stuff, but also he'd come help out. So sometimes there's nobody there, and if nobody's got your back, it's kind of tricky already. I'm not a legacy. I don't have any inside information, or like nobody's looking out for you. But also I got to a point where the top of the top, other than Vince, pulled me aside and said, Pat pushes for you so much because he says such great things and sees such great things in you that we're now actively ribbing him by having you lose every week. And I go,
that's terrible.
That's a funny, and he laughed when he said it. And I go, that's funny, but like, that's my career. That's already, I lose 80% of the time, not losing 95% of the time. Like, come on, like that's not, and they thought it was like a cool thing to tell me. So again, this is anecdotal, secondhand information. It's not something I witnessed personally, but people in the meetings would tell you like, oh yeah, anytime this thing was set up, these two guys would go like, no, we don't like him. And they go, okay, on to the next guy. And it just, it's showbiz. That's how it works. But it's, that's of course part of the deal. And there's a million amazing moments that I got to be a part of,
right,
or that were based around me, that the memories will never, ever go away. And the fans have them too. It's just that I think that there's that extra part of there's no follow-up because there's no one in a meeting going, okay, now we're going with this guy, right? And they're like, nah, we're good. And so the next day, so it's weird to complain. You're like, hey, you won like 20 titles and you were the world champion. It's like, yes, that's fantastic. And I cherish that. But also the next day, every time I won those titles, I lost 92 times in a row, including the day the week I became world heavyweight champion. I lost the next match. Like, so, and that's, again, it's showbiz. That's part of the deal. But also it just goes, okay, if the company's not behind him, eventually the fans will not, because they understand like, oh, what's the point of this? But they stuck around a lot longer than they should have, I think, because of the work ethic and everything that was put forward by me, I think.
Yeah, when you say longer than they should have, I don't agree with that statement at all. I mean, you have a huge fan base. They admire your work and your work ethic. So they're fans, period. They're not just going to give up on you because you lose. Because
right, but
it's not you losing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you get to a point where it was, I study the metrics behind the scenes and the ratings and all that stuff and different things. And you go, it's one thing when people my age go, oh, Dolph's going to put out a good match and he's going to lose. And then it got to a point where 10-year-old kids are going, we know you're losing. And then you get to a point where it's 6 and 8-year-old kids are like, oh, I can't wait to see you. Like, so you get to a point where the fans are still hanging around longer than they should, but the office is telling them, don't waste your time. You're going to see a cool thing, and for a split second, you're going to forget that you know this guy's losing. And that was my goal every time, is to get 1 or 2 split seconds where it goes, oh, because that's what I was up against. And I thought I did that pretty damn well. But every once in a while, it's just there's nothing. And then somebody's hurt, and they go, you're fighting Sheamus in the world title match. And 99% of an entire crowd is cheering for the bad guy as loud as they possibly can for the entire match. And I go, damn it, hell yeah, we can still get him.
Because you're that guy that the office counts on to make everyone look good, because they feel you can't have a bad match. But you're not the guy that's going to get the push.
Right. And so that's, you pick one or the other. Or I even tried it. Someone high up was like, stop taking this finish so well. Stop being bumping. And I go, I tried it once. I tried it at a live event to like not give everything. And the timing was off and it was weird. And I go, no, for a split second, I go, maybe I can. No, I can't. I can only do it as best as I can because I have to sleep at night, even for an hour or two. And so it's either like, I know I'm not going to be the franchise guy, but every couple of months I go, I can get, if I can just get them to think this way, I can get a couple months out of it and make the most of it. So it's also, if you can take that finish, fantastic. You're going to take it every week, but also you're going to take it every week for 20 years and you're going to build a legacy and get paid. And then on the weekends, you can go do 25 minutes with Kofi and tear it down and have the best time of your life. So
they want you to take it, but take it like not to the potential that you can. Is that
just a couple people were trying to almost like look out for me and saying, you take this too well. Like the first time I took Sheamus's finish, they go, holy shit, are you okay? And I go,
it's at work, brother.
Boss, it's my job to make it look like I got killed. And they're like, oh my God. So if you're working the boss, and then the next time he's like, so it's like, oh, cool, I'm doing something great. And then it gets into like, ooh, I don't know who's winning the world title tonight, but let's make sure we get that Sheamus kick on Dolph because it's going to look so good. And you're like, so then it got to a point where I think there was a couple of months on SmackDown where I was just fighting Sheamus for no reason because they wanted to see me take his finish. And I get it because there's some pretty great gifs out there, GIFs, whatever. I'm like, it looks awesome because I had to do it great. And then, but then also after 30 matches, when you're 1-29, you're like, how do you make this guy the world champ? How do you make him credible? How do we follow him around in a long-term storyline? Right. So it's good with bad. I don't know.
So do you feel like I know you weren't thrilled about the cheerleading gimmick, which I kind of liked it, to be honest with you.
Well, that's fine to like it, but imagine let me set it up a little bit better. They go, hey, we really like what you're doing. You're a clean-cut kid that we can Google, and you broke records wrestling in college. And
Kent State, correct?
Kent State.
Gotcha. Yep. Okay.
Appreciate that. I see you got the notes that I sent over.
Shout out for Kent State.
And I was like, they can Google it. They go, we're really thinking about possibly putting you as like a young up-and-comer with Kurt Angle. And like he's going to be your hero. And I'm like, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard in my life. Are you kidding me? I got a tryout with WWE because Kurt Angle came from amateur wrestling and was doing so well that they gave a smaller guy like me a chance at a tryout. I go, this is a dream come true. It's like the movie, it's like the Karate Kid movie where it's like Sidekicks or something. It was like Chuck Norris and the other kid are fighting, like he's with his hero. I go, this is the best. And then I get a call to go to TV and they're like, you're going to be a cheerleader with 4 other guys. And it's about one guy and you guys are just going to pop and feed and look like little sissies. And then when we're done, who knows? And you go, I'm heartbroken. This sucks. Aww. What can I do? And then a couple days goes by and you go, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this the best as I damn well can. And if this run is 3 months, like I've seen a couple people come and go, it's a couple of months and they're gone. I go, if that's it, I'm going to give it everything I can. And I go, I won't be afraid to like embrace it because some people don't get this one chance.